I now call the March 11th, 2025 meeting of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Board of Education to order. There being no opposition to any items on the agenda, it's adopted by unanimous consent. And today, I'm pleased to announce our pledge leader for this evening, which is Vance Johnson. He's an East Meck High School senior, and supporting Vance here tonight are the brothers of Phi Beta Sigma of Charlotte. A little bit about Vance. Vance is a go-getter of a student who believes he can accomplish whatever he sets out to do through dedication, hard work, and a commitment to excellence. Vance loves design and building and has dreams of shaping the world through innovative engineering and design. With an eye for detail and a love of exploring, he wants to create spaces that inspire and uplift his community. Vance is focused on honoring and honing his mathematical, design, and construction skills to pave his way for a future in civil engineering, architecture, and urban design. Vance is on a mission to turn dreams into reality and to build a better tomorrow. I have no doubt he will be one of our community's most progressive and forward-thinking designers before you know it. So tonight, Vance, can you lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'll also be sharing a small speech that I've put together addressing the power of education and the need for equity. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Again, I am Vance Johnson, and as a current high school senior, I spent most of this past year applying for colleges and scholarships. Over the past few weeks, I've been fortunate enough to participate in 3 scholarship interviews. In every single one, I was asked the same important question. The question is, what is a current issue that matters to you, and how does it connect with your future goals? I decided that this will be the perfect opportunity to share my response with you all today. In one of those interviews, I reflected on a powerful quote by Kofi Annan. Education is the great equalizer of our time. It gives hope to the hopeless and creates chances to those without. This quote speaks deeply to me because I've seen both sides of what education can and sometimes can't do. I've spent my entire academic journey in Title I schools, starting at Elizabeth Traditional Elementary School, Almar Road Middle, and currently East Mecklenburg High School. In each of these schools, minorities like me are the majority, and a lot of students are in these schools are economically disadvantaged. At these schools, resources are often stretched thin, retaining good teachers is difficult, and opportunities can feel limited. Yet I've also had the chance to visit more affluent schools, places with advanced technology, specialized programs, and endless opportunities for growth. The contrast is striking, and it reveals a painful truth. Not all students are given an equal shot at success. Education has the power to break down barriers, open doors, and change lives, but only if it's accessible, equitable, and designed to uplift all students, not just those in well-funded districts. For students in underfunded schools like mine, education isn't just about learning new material. It's about gaining confidence, developing skills, and finding hope for a brighter future. It's about dreaming bigger, turning those dreams into reality, and discovering the resilience to push through challenges. But too often, Title I students face additional obstacles that wealthier schools don't. Outdated resources, limited access to technology, and fewer extracurricular programs are common. While students in better funded schools are exploring STEM labs, leadership conferences, and college prep resources, students in underserved communities are working just as hard, but with far fewer tools to build their future. This is why Kofi Annan's call for transformation resonates with me. He challenges us to move away from a system of competition, where only the wealthiest schools thrive, and instead create a culture of collaboration, a system where resources are shared, opportunities are expanded, and students in every zip code are empowered to reach their full potential. I've been fortunate enough to have a resourceful mother who has intentionally sought organizations who encourage and support students like me. Being a student who currently lives in a low-income community, who has attended Title I public schools my entire academic career, and who is being raised by a single parent, I want to give a huge shout out and show my gratitude to organizations like Carolina Youth Coalition, Communities in Schools, Upward Bound, Inroads, 100 Black Men of Greater Charlotte, and the Sigma Beta Club, who support students like me academically through mentorship and exposing me to numerous experiences and opportunities. Again, I want to say thank you. These organizations are a huge reason why I'm here and why I'm where I'm at today. As a student who hopes to be an engineer and a leader on my future college campus at North Carolina A&T State University,
He tried.
I know firsthand how mentorship, access to programs, and supportive communities could change lives. My goal is to use my education to design solutions that promote equity in schools, cities, and in communities that have been overlooked and underserved for far too long. I believe that when we invest in education, when we provide for students with the resources, mentorship, and opportunities they need, we aren't just helping individuals. We're strengthening entire communities, empowering future leaders, and ensuring that no dream goes unrealized simply because of where someone grows up. I would also like to say thank you to the amazing CMS teachers as well. I have the opportunity to serve as a student member of the CMS Equity Committee and listen to concerns from teachers and see how the CMS Equity Committee is working hard to advocate and support teachers within CMS. Education is a great equalizer, but only if we commit to making it equal for everyone. Thank you all.
Thank you. I didn't sign it. Sherry, I don't think I signed it.
Did you sign it at closed session?
All right, thank you so much for those remarks. And to the gentleman, just want to recognize that are here to support Mr. Johnson as well. If you could please stand. I turn to Dr. Hill for acknowledgement of our SOFG students.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. Later this evening, we will be doing our goal monitoring report for Goal 2, which is focused on students in grades 3 through 8 for English Language Arts. Our report tonight is focused on students in grades 3 through 5. And this evening, I have the distinct honor of recognizing outstanding students who are currently on track to perform at the college and career ready level by the end of this school year. Students, when I call your name, please stand to be recognized, and at the very end, we will ask you all to stand together as a group. We will ask your parents and family members who are here to support you to stand as well as the amazing principals and teachers that I see here in the audience this evening. Okay, let's get started. We have Aaron Overcash from Torrance Creek Elementary. Hugo Escada Garcia, Westerly Hills Academy. Marie Perry, Myers Park Traditional. Brianna Hall, Rama Road Elementary. Catherine De Leon Cardonza from Berry Hill School. Allison Calderon Perea from Lawrence Orr Elementary. Alexander Caron Martinez from Albemarle Road Elementary. Samaria Mungo from Marie G. Davis. Chelsea Espana Bonilla from Montclair Elementary. Jasmine Ramirez from Lawrence Orr Elementary. Fallon Leaks from David Cox Road. Eunice Winsey from Hornets Nest Elementary. Eden Andrews from Torrance Creek. Grant Collinger from Dilworth Elementary. Dominique Ori from Elizabeth Traditional. Aiden Flowers, Westerly Hills. Kingston Olini from Elon Park. Carlson Gunning, Elizabeth Traditional. Madison Gadd, Elizabeth Lane Elementary. William Collins, Bain Elementary. Omar Garcia, Highland Mill Montessori. Jude Tarr, Myers Park Traditional. Omar De La Cruz Campos, Mountain Island Lake. Kenneth Brawley, Bain Elementary. Nazaria Robinson, Westerly Hills. Layla Oglesby, South Academy of International Languages. Skylar McPaul Carmichael from Westerly Hills. Laura Gomes Cardosa from Oakhurst STEAM Academy. And Madison Hargrove Small from Westerly Hills. Okay, will all of our scholars, family members, and staff members please stand to be recognized? We'd like to thank all of you for coming. We know and understand that you're not here by accident. You're here on purpose, and it's a result of really, really hard work. And a lot of that hard work is doing your homework. So we want you to go home, study hard, make sure that you're up bright and early on time for school in the morning. Thank you so much for coming. Have a wonderful evening.
Here's everybody. Davis.
Adorable. Thank you.
And then I see her still. I always forget. And then I still forget, even though she just told me.
Oh, yeah, yeah. She's on there. Yeah.
All right. Board members, the consent agenda items were provided to you in advance. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Witherspoon, second by Klein. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. Dr. Hill, you have some recognitions.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, this evening, I'm pleased to announce that we have Dr. Christy Bostic, who will be our new Assistant Superintendent for High School Performance A. Dr. Bostic is currently serving as the Executive Director of Middle School Performance Area A here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. She began her career as a special education teacher and has served as an assistant principal, Director of MTSS, Director of Student Services, and the Director of Secondary Education. Dr. Bostic holds a doctorate degree from Gardner-Webb University. And our second appointment this evening is Dr. LaToya Roberts as the new principal at River Oaks Academy. Dr. Roberts began her career as a teacher in Cumberland County Schools and has served as a teacher and a dean and is currently serving as the assistant principal at Lebanon Road Elementary School. Dr. Roberts holds a doctorate in educational leadership from Gardner-Webb University as well.
Thank you, and congratulations to our new appointments. Now we have our public engagement. I will read the rules for public comments. Only speakers who have timely signed up for public comment are eligible to speak. Speakers are not permitted to read statements or speak on behalf of someone else. Each speaker will be called to speak one at a time. Each speaker will have a maximum of 2 minutes to address the board. Each speaker may speak on any topic of their choice except individual student or personnel matters, since these items are confidential and not appropriate for public comment. For these matters, the board encourages you to contact the appropriate department, staff member, or our board office. Speakers are welcome to offer comments or criticisms, but should refrain from personal attacks, accusations, and insults. Profanity or other inappropriate language will not be allowed. The board reserves the right to cut off any speaker who violates these rules. As I call your name, please come to either podium, and please speak in the order that you're called. The first two names this evening are Jerry Wilson and Rose Cure McLaren.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good evening. My name is Jerry Wilson, and I work with the Center for Racial Equity in Education, and I'm here to speak about the budget specifically. I am glad to see that there's a proposed increase in the local supplement for certified teacher salaries. I know that sometimes folks in the North Carolina General Assembly make your job harder. And they did that several years ago when they decided to freeze experience pay from year 15 to 25. And I'm glad to see that you all are stepping up the local supplement to make up for that fact. I would love to see the supplement increase between year 15 and 20 to reflect that cut in the state increase in steps, to make sure that experienced educators aren't leaving the classroom for other opportunities like I've seen so often. I also want to say that earlier today, the North Carolina Senate did pass Senate Bill 227, which attempts to ban diversity, equity, and inclusion in public education in North Carolina. And I'm hopeful that the bill doesn't pass and become law, but the chilling effect is real. And I want to say that a lot of our work at CREED deals with the importance of educators of color. And I worry that in this political moment, folks will begin to retreat from the commitments that the young man spoke to earlier on the need for making sure that our schools are welcoming, safe, productive spaces for all students, not just the privileged few. So I applaud your effort to increase the local supplement, and I hope that we can continue to do good work to support the students and educators of Charlotte-Mecklenburg. Thank you.
Thank you. You may begin. It's going to start once you start talking.
My name is Rose Keir McLaren. I'm with Black Child Development Institute Carolinas, and I am here to talk about the Summer Access Collaborative. The Summer Access Collaborative comprises 6 organizations: BCDI Carolinas, Freedom School Partners, YMCA of Greater Charlotte, Above and Beyond Students, Greater Enrichment Program, and International House, alongside 8 funders. The Summer Access Collaborative formed in 2023 to provide students at schools across Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools with greater access to summer programming that will curb summer learning loss and improve literacy rates in alignment with CMS's Literacy Goals 1 and 2. Annually, members of the Summer Access Collaborative plan 6 to 9 weeks of enriching summer programming designed to surround the whole child at no cost or low cost to CMS families. In 2024, 476 students were served across the 6 agencies. BCDI Carolinas served CMS families with 2 summer camp locations, one at Northridge Middle School and one at Walter G. Byers. In 2025, we intend to serve 125 students at each location. We serve children from ages 5 through 14 with our K-8 camp and our junior counselor program, which employs teenagers as young as 14. Our program fosters literacy, STEAM skills, and social-emotional learning using culturally relevant, research-backed tools. We want to ensure that we meet needs, sustain summer seats, and effectively serve children and families. As we approach summer, we and our Summer Access Collaborative partners look forward to collaborating further with CMS as a key partner in this endeavor to provide quality, free summer programming. Thank you for your time.
Next 2 names are Roxanne DeShong and Kristen Kim. Are you Roxanne? Roxana, yes. Okay, Roxana. Is Kristen Kim here? Billy Hopkins? You can begin.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Roxana DeShong-Myrie, and I'm very happy to be here to speak about something that I'm very passionate about, and that is our hardworking teachers and the importance of a livable teacher supplement. I have 2 exceptional children in public school, and I can tell you how important it is for me for their teachers to be able to focus on academic excellence rather than leaving work at dismissal for their second job because of how expensive it is to live in Charlotte. Teachers leaving the profession because CMS doesn't pay enough is a real concern. Personally, I work with 3 former teachers who have left the profession. At one point, my little girl's teacher was switched 3 times in an academic year, and I saw how negatively it impacted her education. In other words, I place high value on teachers as well as an increased teacher supplement at a local level. I also feel the push for CMS TAs is becoming licensed through programs like Teach NC is a great way to boost additional licensed teachers entering the classroom. When teachers are paired with a teacher assistant, they are better able to detect students with learning challenges. Teachers work hard to obtain the necessary licensing in order to provide children with the needed tools for success. Over time, honing in on their skills. Hence, the importance of them being adequately compensated is required. I see education as a return on investment for the future society as well. And I believe in the end, the 10% supplement, increased allocations to fund public school teachers is something that should be looked at as an investment in the future of our children in Charlotte. In addition to corporate America and skilled trades market as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Billy Hopkins, Director of Education for Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Beta Rho Sigma Chapter, Sigmas of Charlotte. It's a pleasure to stand here and witness young Vance Johnson, who serves as the president of our Sigma Beta Club, and he represents what we're doing as a civic organization to make a difference in the lives of young male members around this city. We've partnered with 2 schools in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. We participate in doing male mentoring with them. Last Saturday, we had the pleasure of being on the campus of UNC Charlotte, where we took our youth mentoring group, the Sigma Beta Club, to a science symposium, which was a national organization sponsored by the Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. We are on the campus of UNC Charlotte this coming Saturday for a college tour. We endeavor to make a difference in the lives of the young men that we have served. As a retired high school administrator, we're also doing a slight recruitment, if you will, for CMS. And so we recognize the significance of making a difference in the lives of the young men in this community. We also participate in the mobile food pantry, partner with Second Harvest Mobile Food Bank of Mecklenburg County, and we work with Briarwood and Thomasboro Academies. Several of our brothers last week participated in Read Across America, where we read to great levels of scholars in various schools. We have distributed bookmarks in the past. I had the pleasure of going on that awesome 5th grade symphony trip, so we look forward to an opportunity to make a difference. We applaud and commend and thank Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools for the wonderful job that you're doing to make a difference as you prepare the next generation of young men and young women with skills that's going to enable them to compete in a global economy with upward mobility. And we thank you for this opportunity, and we continue to thank you and support you in the endeavors in which we make a difference in the lives of young people. Thank you.
Have Ben Manning and Ashley Wiley.
I did not wear any names on my shirt tonight. I'm just here to say thank you to the board, Dr. Hill, and the administration for the decision that was made at Carmel this week. I speak for a lot of people when I say that we appreciate very much that you took our concerns to heart and that you listened. And I want you to know that you have restored a lot of faith in CMS amongst the Carmel community. And that's it. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Ashley Wiley.
Ma'am. So the safety of our children is of the greatest importance, and unfortunately, it's also our greatest concern. I've helped you, got you grants, slowed the violence, and worked together for a common goal, for our kids to get an education that they don't have to recover from, and for our educators to give them an education without fear. The way forward and the new way forward, I helped with both of their creation. Your now former COO read from my emails and removed me from my program and platform because I wouldn't remain silent. Hush, hush. And as I was specifically told to be quiet. That's becoming a theme, don't you think? How can you be silent when our children are being hurt, killed, and are scared? Our good staff and teachers told to keep it quiet and to be careful about what they say regarding the violence that our children face daily by the hands and actions of other children, staff, admin, and senior school district executives. How dare you expect any of us to fall in line, be good, don't say that, when children have irreversible catastrophic injuries from multiple repetitive concussions, being kicked in the head, face, and held there while being punched after running, yelling, "No, stop, and help." Whew. Being delayed and denied of medical care, and in most cases, medical care not provided. You sit up here and preach. Well, what you say sounds good. There's no action, commitment, or care. And you chuckle and found it funny when your very own horrible government relations lead and lobbyist made remarks of no longer with us during a board meeting where safety was once again the topic and kids just died. They were shot, but no longer with us and chuckling, right? But you tell us you care, or is that how you really felt? Yet I was removed from the program and platform that has a piece of my soul, and I was better at it than you are. And I still can't do it.
Thank you, Ms. Wiley. Next, Ms. Laura Cooper.
How dare you?
Good evening. I am here as a former teacher, school administrator, and district level administrator. Most of all, I'm here tonight to lift up 3 CMS high school students. First, the young man who spoke earlier tonight, Van Johnson, gave me hope, the best hope I've felt in a long time, in a very difficult time in our lives. And secondly, 2 young women, April Alonzo and Zahara Mashenge, who this week published a very thoughtful piece entitled Civic Learning Week. Students ask leaders to promote civic literacy. It's well written, it's strong, and I support their call for an increased focus on civic literacy. They ask for a focus on K-12. They ask for going beyond teaching about what do we need to know about government, to think about how do we help kids get involved. I want to thank you, both the superintendent and the board, for working with Generation Nation so that you, in fact, have a student advisory council. You have a very strong contributor in your student board member. But I want to urge you to think about ways in which high school kids can be involved in all kinds of ways in improving their school. They are an untapped resource for making your high schools even better. Thank you.
That concludes our public comments for this evening. I turn to Dr. Hill for the voluntary separations and promotions through March 11th, 2025 report.
As presented.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the Student Outcomes Focused Governance Monitoring Report, Guardrail 1, Interim Measure 1.2, grades 3 through 8.
As presented.
I turn to Dr. Hill for the Student Outcomes Focused Governance Goal 2, Interim Measure 2.1, grades 3 through 5 report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we begin our facilitated discussion, I'd like to just share a brief presentation. This report is focused on Goal 2 and Interim Measure 2.1 for reading grades 3 through 5. Goal 2 is to increase the percent of students scoring at college and career ready on our end-of-grade assessment in grades 3 through 8 from 31% in June 2023 to 50% in June 2029. In this report, we will look at the percent of 3rd through 5th grade students projected to achieve college or career readiness on their reading end-of-grade assessment this year. We utilize the MVPA benchmark assessment data to make these projections until students take the assessment at the end of the year. The focus of this report is on the Quarter 2 MVPA benchmark assessment. Students took this assessment between January 9th and January 23rd of this year. As you can see here, the actual percentage of students in grades 3 through 5 achieving a level 4 or 5 on the end of grade test remained consistent at 33% in the 22-23 school year and the 23-24 school year. This fell short of the 23-24 target of 34% by 1 percentage point. The annual target for students in grades 3 through 5 in reading for the 24-25 school year is 37%. This is a 4% increase over student performance from last year. On the first MVPA benchmark assessment this school year in October, 33% of our students in grades 3 through 5 are projected to be a level 4 or a 5 by the end of this school year. On the second MVPA benchmark assessment of this school year, 35% of our students are projected to be a level 4 or 5. In order to meet this year's target, 37%, we need to accelerate our rate of growth by 2 percentage points by the final MVPA assessment, which is in April, and ultimately on the actual end of grade assessment. Here you can see the total number of students tested, which was just over 31,000 students. We needed 11,749 students to reach our Goal 2 target of 37%. And currently, we have a little over 11,000 students that are projected to be college and career ready, which leaves us with just 691 additional students that we need to reach our Goal 2 target by the end of the year. I do want to point out that our first MVPA assessment, we needed approximately 1,063 students. While the counts change from benchmark to benchmark, this is a decrease, noting that now we only need 691 students. This is great progress, and this is something that should be celebrated. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Chair Sneed to facilitate questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Board members, you know our regular cadence. I want to remind you as we hone in on our questioning that we are asking strategic question as opposed to technical and tactical. And first, that we will look at the information looking backwards. Board member Easley.
I have a question about, you notice here that the chronic attendance is a major contributing factor to some of this and some of these issues. How can our attendance intervention groups that we work with our partners, how can that be scaled up to further reduce chronic absenteeism? I see that, I saw that you got, counselors are making attendance plans and they're doing home visits, but how can we leverage our community partners to help with that and help with our literacy?
Well, currently, if you take a look at page 11, you will notice that we currently are partnering with My Brother's Keeper. That is our primary partner that we are partnering with to address chronic absenteeism. And they have worked very hard to make sure that they're conducting home visits for those chronically absent students. They've also done a great job of identifying who those students are, providing targeted messaging. So that is the primary group that we're working with right now in terms of attendance.
Okay, so to help, there's still a significant attendance issue, so how can that be ramped up?
Well,
what else can we do to support that?
Sure. Our current strategy isn't to engage any other partners at this time, even though we do have partnerships that do address chronic absenteeism, but it's not a part of our current strategy. We are more focused on making sure that our school social workers have the appropriate training, that they're monitoring and keeping logs of students, and making sure that they are using interventions for our students that are chronically absent. All right, board membership.
Yes, as you said, Dr. Hill, we want to celebrate, or definitely that we're now we need 691 students, I'm on page 5, to bring it into the home stretch, to meet that goal and get to 37% by the end of the year. So what strategies currently are we using to ensure that we will get there?
Yes, so one of the things that we are doing is making sure that we know exactly who these students are, school by school, grade level by grade level. Just recently, I had the opportunity to meet with all of our school performance area assistant superintendents, and that's one of the strategies that they mentioned. They're looking very closely at our students that scored a level 4 minus, to make sure that they don't slip back, because those are the students that are captured in that number, 691. And the other thing that we're really taking a look at is currently we have 1,315 students that scored a level 3 plus. So we know those students are just on the cusp of being college and career ready. So again, knowing who those students are, being able, when we do our core action walks, when they go in the classroom, to know who those students are, and taking a really close look at the work that those students are doing, and making sure that they're engaged in the correct work that would make sure that they are college and career ready by the end of the year.
And as a follow-up, are we looking at the teaching, the instruction, and the teachers that are supporting these students?
Absolutely. We are always looking at the instruction as well as the curriculum and the environment, and then layering that with who are those students that would be impacted.
Thank you.
Board Member Monterey Duval.
Dr. Hill, I have a question regarding attendance interventions. Have we noticed any patterns around students not attending school due to, like, citing any, like, fears around immigration, things like that? It's been almost 3 months. Have we seen any big patterns around that? Are we looking at that?
We are looking at that. Initially, we did see some absenteeism kind of spike in January, but it has returned more to normal.
I have a different question. Yeah. Okay. And then I have a question regarding the core action walkthroughs regarding Project 3. I don't know what slide it is for you, but it's Project 3 on the strategies. And so the question is regarding, are there any specific, so it says here that you identified areas for improvement in the 267 literacy walkthroughs. What were the specific instructional gaps that you found in that? It says here that you identified areas for improvement in the system for implementing core action walkthroughs, output 2.
Yes, so the main thing that we're taking a look at is, number one, to make sure that when we're doing the core action walks, we're calibrated, meaning that we know what we're looking for, and when they go into the classroom, those that are going in to do the walks are on the same page. But more importantly, we are looking at what is happening during different points in time during instruction while the L curriculum is being taught. So really paying close attention to the all block, making sure students are where they should be and what type of work those students are working on. So as I mentioned earlier, knowing who those students are. If it's a student that's a 3+, is that student being pushed in the higher depth of knowledge type questions and types of work? And then the other thing that we're taking a look at very closely is what's happening in the teacher group. So what specific things are being taught when students are being pulled. Depending on their level, we should be seeing students going to that teacher table more often if they're not proficient. Students that would be currently a level 3 or a level 4 or 5 wouldn't be visiting that table as much. But those are the types of things that we're taking a look at. Implementation of the curriculum, and then specifically what types of instructional tasks are the students engaged in during the walk.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes, how is MTSS being used to, I like the word used, accelerate learning for students who are not meeting proficiency benchmarks?
Yes, so MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, And we utilize MTSS at each benchmark to determine what level of additional support that students need. So students that may need just a little bit more support might be receiving supplemental supports, whereas students that are showing some major deficits may need intensive supports. We don't put students in the tiers based on one data point. We really look to try to triangulate data to make sure that, for example, a student may score non-proficient on their benchmark, but on their iReady, they may be doing just fine. So we really try to look at multiple data points before making decisions. And then once a decision's been made about what level of support those students should be receiving, we take a really close look at exactly what they need that support in. So let me go to a slide here that might help. Lots of slides here to show an illustration. Here it is. All right, so here you will see what students would be receiving if they were a level 3 in terms of MTSS, and then what students would be receiving who are students who are level 4 or 5, and then students who are not proficient, the types of supports that they would be receiving. Follow up?
No, thank you.
Vice Chair Rankin.
I'm in the appendix on slide 25. The data there shows that 6,630 students in Tier 3 took the beginning of the year test. Can you elaborate on the specific strategies and interventions that contributed to the successful transition of 698 students from Tier 3 to Tier 1?
Yes. So since I'm on the slide already, I'll just speak to the types of supports that students that were non-proficient, so those would have been students that were in Tier 3 that are now receiving just differentiated core instruction. So if you take a look here, you will notice that specifically for the intervention and enrichment block, students should be receiving at least 30 minutes of that a day. Those students received off-grade level instruction and intervention through things such as iReady or other interventions. You will see that for all block, the students received EL education, and then also during the module block. But let me go back and show you more specifically on slide 35. Yes, this one. So when I mentioned, and this goes along with what Dr. Witherspoon was just asking as well, you will see these are the specific areas of need. So when a student is receiving either supplemental or intensive support, it's really important that we pinpoint exactly the area that they need that support. So it's not just the students receiving intensive support in reading. What specifically in reading do they need that intensive support with? So based on the area of need, as you'll notice on the left-hand side, we have a standard treatment protocol that lets you know exactly the type of intervention that those students should be getting. And the standard treatment protocol spells out both the intensity and the duration of that intervention. So for example, for the phonemic awareness and phonics, students would be getting EL education skills block and Orton-Gillingham. Very specific in terms of how long that intervention should last, and then each dose, how much time that dosage should be. So it might be 3 times a week for 15 minutes, or 3 times a week for 20 minutes each. And then based on that, we would progress monitor. So what gets them back to Tier 1 is their demonstration to master these interventions and transfer that skill back over to on grade level 1. So the data that you reference means that students were receiving intensive interventions based on a specific area of need, and they were able to demonstrate that they can produce on-grade level work, which means they're back in Tier 1 receiving differentiated core.
A quick follow-up, just for clarity. So there's not a, what it sounds like, there's not a blanket strategy, what you're talking about. So it's actually specific areas depending on what the student needs. So it's not that it's just a blanket. So for example, I think it says, I can't see it. It may be fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension for one student, but something else for a different student, and the amount of time they need
That's
that can
correct.
move them. Okay,
That's correct.
thank you.
Because it's, I'm sorry, I just want to follow this up, just use a medical analogy. It doesn't make sense if you have a sinus infection, you might have similar symptoms, and you have a sinus infection and you get treated for allergy.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have the same symptom, but you're not addressing the root cause. It's the same thing. If a student is needing intensive support because they're not demonstrating proficiency, or and then we don't actually diagnose their correct area and you treat that, they're never going to improve. So what that data tells us is that the teachers did an excellent job, and the interventionist, identifying what the need was, treating it appropriately based on our standard treatment protocol, and allowing that student to go back to receiving differentiated core on grade level work.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Klein?
Go back to Board Member Duvall's question, sort of a follow-up. With the walkthroughs that you did from quarter one, and you figured out what to do differently, what have you seen as a result in quarter two with the scores as a result of the quarter one data?
Yes, so we have seen an increase of 2% for students in grades 3 through 5. That is the actualization of lots of different factors, but what we do know is through our core action walks, we were able to identify and triangulate some of the data, some of the things that we are seeing, being able to address that through support from our master teachers, correct some of those things, and as a result have seen an increase.
And I guess what I'm asking is more, my question was not clear enough, specific things that you've seen in the classrooms with the kids. Is it, again, vocabulary? Is it fluency? What are some of the things that were targeted?
Well, it depends on the needs for those particular students.
Right.
So not necessarily what area of need in terms of reading, but more structurally in terms of instruction, what was actually happening. So, for example, one of the things that we picked up rather quickly in some of our classrooms, not all, but during, I always get this a little bit backwards, so forgive me. But for example, during all block, which is our differentiated core, in some classrooms, in some schools, we were seeing intervention type things happening during that time that should have been differentiated core, which it should be on grade level material. So in other words, we were lacking some rigor in some of our walkthroughs. So those are some of the things that we've addressed, and schools have made the appropriate adjustments.
Gotcha.
All right, Board Member Nunn?
Yes, I'm going back to slide 39. For those designated not to be proficient, you know, a major difference is the intervention and enrichment. So as our students are not here, is that being done, because you've got all those, like you said, you've got to diagnose the symptoms and the root cause of what's happening for their interventions. Is that being done by their teachers or additional staff? I'm just trying to understand the parallels between the classroom teacher and what other supports are in place too. Just because we all know budgets lead to people that do those things as well.
It depends. Each school has the freedom and flexibility of how they arrange their enrichment intervention time. Some schools call it WIN, W-I-N, what I need. And so a lot of schools have decided to block out their day, so they have push-in support. meaning that, for example, if it's third grade win time, they pull the resources from the entire school K-5 in terms of instructional assistants, tutors, and push into a grade level at that time to make sure that you have more hands on deck. So there's different strategies that schools use. Sometimes schools will choose to push in their master teachers into a specific grade level based on their results. So it just depends on the individual needs of the school and their staffing models that they have.
Follow-up?
I guess the follow-up is, are we tracking that so that we see what methods work the best, moving forward I guess that would be a question, is are we going to track the different methods to understand what's working best?
Yeah, we haven't really done that because there's so many different variations. The size of the school, the size of the staff, the strength of the staff, if they're a teacher leader pathway school or not, if they're Title I and have additional staff, if they have strong partnerships. So the variables change so much, it's really difficult to pinpoint which structure, what works best. So that's not one of the things that we really look at in terms of effectiveness, other than when teams are going in to do the core action walks and notice that, wait a minute, something here is not working, or this might be a better way for you to utilize the resources that you have at your disposal.
I have a question about slide 4. When you're looking at slide 4, the baseline for 2022-23 is 33%. The actual for 23-24 was 33%. It looks, from what has been discussed today, it looks like we're closer to meeting our target than we have been in the prior 2 school years. So can you describe the difference in strategies between those years and this one that is making the difference?
Yes. I would say the number one strategy would be the way that we organized. So if you recall, in the past, we've been organized by learning community area. So the learning community superintendent was responsible for students in pre-K through 12. So their area of focus was not so much instruction, but basically running a mini MINI district, right? So we essentially had 9 mini crystals because they were running HR, discipline, all of the things. When we changed that model, we went to the school performance area model, and they're focused on grade span. So now we have 5 people that get up every single day, and their main focus is teaching and learning and school performance for elementary schools. So they're not worrying about graduation rate or Math 1 or Goal 4. I mean, it is because they know it leads to that, but their primary focus is pre-K through 5. That model has allowed those folks, number one, to work as a really close-knit community to make sure that all of our elementary schools are much more closely aligned than they have been in the past. They've been able to share resources and ideas, and they've also been able to monitor instruction very closely. They've become experts. That switch then has allowed them to be able to pinpoint when they go in to do the core action walks, being able to zero in, knowing exactly what they should be looking for, being able to address it immediately. The other thing that we've done is we've moved several of our instructional specialists into those performance areas. So each performance area has specialists now that the SPA, the assistant superintendent, is able to deploy based on those core action walks and data. And then the next thing that I would say is the real close alignment now that we have with learning and teaching in terms of development of curriculum, use of curriculum, implementation of curriculum, and then the immediate response to benchmarks and the immediate response to iReady results and things like that. So lots of different layered strategies that have us going in the right direction.
Thank you. Board Member Byers-Bailey.
Thank you.
I've been listening to what you've been saying and how you've been breaking it up. You know, this is what we do for this particular problem. And I was wondering, okay, so how does that, you know, flex across the system of schools? And it sounds like that each little group, you're able to identify the school that is lagging furthest behind the rest of them. And that it's because of the way you all are evaluating the core, you're able to identify, okay, you need more help than these guys. And I really appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am. And the reason why some schools may not be performing where they should be, there's a variety of factors. So the other thing that we've worked really hard on is identifying what that root cause is. For example, we know how important the impact of a teacher is. So if you have a school that needs support with priority staffing, they have a lot of turnover, or teachers that may be newer teachers or alternatively licensed teachers, the support that that school is going to need is a little bit different than a school that may be having some attendance issues. So by us being able to identify what each school needs and then being aligned appropriately, we can more quickly address the specific issues that schools need and to support them along the way. We are all focused on getting better.
What I'm hearing is that we should not then have one school is really knocking it out and another one's still down in the ditch, because you're focused on all of them. And the ones down in the ditch is getting exactly what they need to come up out of the ditch and catch up.
Yeah, everybody is striving to get better. Yeah. So if there's a school that has been top performing, the expectation is that they're continuing to get better. So when we met, I guess it was last week, with the school performance area superintendents, we were talking about schools that had not performed based on last year's data, but I was also asking questions about schools, about their school performance grade. Do you think that this school is a B right now? There's absolutely no reason why they shouldn't be an A. What are some of the things that we're putting in place to make sure that everybody is improving?
Thank you.
All right, board members, it looks like we're ready to go with forward-facing questions. Board Member Egan.
I'm going to go back to kind of jump onto my previous, I can't speak for other board members, obviously, but since I've been on the board, we constantly get asked, how can we support CMS, right? From companies, from other groups, how can we support CMS? So in the past, with like COVID and stuff, we had tutoring in every school. We have since taken that away or changed it up or whatever. How are we now using those partnerships that we made, maybe during our tutoring companies, to kind of help support us? In District 1, I think of the Ada Jenkins Center. How are we using those resources to help support our literacy, to help reach those 691, to get them that extra thing that maybe we don't have, with finances changing, with the budget changing, with all of those things changing? How are we thinking forward in using those partnerships to continue to make strides in our students?
So we now, Dr. Medlock is responsible for strategic partnerships as well as family and community engagement. And so one of the things that her team is focused on is high dosage tutoring. It's one of the projects that we're working on. Dr. Renee McKinnon, who's one of our school performance officers, is really supporting that work. But we are really focusing on identifying those partners that are providing in-school tutoring and have a track record of doing so. We have a process by which we are recruiting folks to support with that high dosage tutoring, and then that team is then sending those tutors to work with the company that then delivers that tutoring support. So if anyone's interested, make sure that you visit our strategic partnerships website. There's a QR code or a link, and you can just click on it and say, I'm interested. We'll put you to work.
Okay. Is that on the website?
It is.
Board Member Shipp.
It was mentioned in the report about the Family Academy. And what have we learned, and how strongly is that supporting moving our students in terms of college and career ready, especially in terms of having the resources they need?
Yes, so one of the things that we have learned is that our families and our community is really interested in helping their students. They want to know exactly what they need to be able to do to support their students. The other thing that we've learned is it's really important for us to be able to catalog our resources so they can easily find them based on the needs of the students. And the other thing that we've learned is that with the assessments that we give and the reports that we send home, parents need to be able to understand the report. What is it saying about my child's current performance? And then now what? What am I supposed to do about it? So the team has done a really good job hosting lunch and learns, webinars, providing those resources. And many of those webinars are actually on the website and they're recorded. And so if people aren't able to join in person, they're able to go back. Earlier today, I actually watched one of the webinars. The team did an amazing job explaining both the MVPA assessment, the report and what it means, as well as the iReady assessment, the report and what it means.
And a follow-up that would be, do the parents feel they have the tools in their hands to do what they need to do at home?
Yes. And so that is one of our learnings that we, that's what I mentioned in terms of cataloging those resources. One of the resources that we've deployed this year that we've heard positive feedback from is iReady, parents' ability to both review the iReady assessment that their child has taken and then to be able to use that as a tool to help their child at home as well.
That's good. Thank you.
Any other question, Rankin?
Okay, I'm going to slide 10. Looking at the column strategic adjustments in quarter 3 and quarter 4, one of the adjustments is to support school teams with creating intervention plans for students needing intervention support. Can you discuss the correlation between moving students from the MTSS tiers 2 and 3 to tier 1, and how this progress aligns with our goal of having students achieve a score of 4 or 5 on the end of grade test?
Yes. So MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, and when students are in Tier 1, they're receiving differentiated core. So students who are not proficient that may need some supports get supplemental interventions, and then students that need intensive supports receive intensive supports. So the supports that I mentioned a little bit earlier when I talked about being able to identify exactly the area of support that they need, being able to diagnose it, being able to treat it, and then allow students to begin receiving on grade level instruction, differentiated core, then they're no longer needing that intervention to catch up. They're then receiving on grade level instruction. So in other words, the support that you provide for a student who may be non-proficient and we're able to diagnose this little piece, then they're on grade level, let's say a level 3, then what we're looking at as a student that's a level 3 is what do we need to do to accelerate them so that they are now becoming, scoring a level 4 or 5. So the question that you asked earlier about the movement of those students that were receiving Tier 3 interventions that are now back in core, many of those students on their second benchmark scored a level 4 or a 5, and they were non-proficient at the first benchmark. So anybody that ever says, oh, it's impossible to go from non-proficient to a level 4 or level 5, that is absolutely not true. It's about knowing exactly, being able to pinpoint the need, treat the need, and then accelerate that student as soon as possible. One of the thing that I love about that report, let me just go to this so people know what you're talking about. And it's really important and encouraging for our schools to see this as well. I think it's here somewhere, maybe.
I was looking around.
Here it is, yes.
That was it.
This is it. It's actually this one.
Yep.
So we had over 6,000 students that were receiving Tier 3 support, and basically what this says is of those 6,000 students, at the beginning of the year, now 699 of those students were returned to Tier 1 to start receiving core instruction. lost my train of thought. I think what I was going to say is, and Dr. Witherspoon has asked this question before, so I just want to make sure that he actually made a comment about it. It's really important that when students aren't on grade level, that we don't keep them at a level that they're not receiving on grade level instruction. TMPT produced an article about 3 years ago, I guess now. It was called Accelerate, Don't Remediate. Basically what the article was saying is that you cannot remediate your way to being college and career ready. It will never work. It will never work. You have to remediate specific areas that are deficits and then accelerate, and that's how you get students to be performing at the college and career ready level. So looking at this tier movement is really important, because if a student's receiving supplemental supports, the goal is that that supplemental support will support them so they're back on grade level and on track to where they need to be.
Just a follow-up, just so I can make sure I'm clear. Just so let's say students in tier 2 right now. There are some if they're in tier 2 there, that in that 3409, there could be students that are on that could be considered proficient for level 4 or 5, or is that just, it's more likely they're not?
I don't want to speak exactly to the rules because I don't know the cut scores and the rules, but there is something in their performance. Let me show you this. This might be a better. I'm going the right way. Yep, this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this actually, get my glasses because I can't see that. I know the report, but I need to look at it. This report actually is taking a look. This is an actual roster, so you can see how we are taking a look at different pieces of data to make instructional decisions. So we are taking a look to see if the students, what their grade, you see their grade level. These are all third grade students. You see if they're a student with a disability. We're taking a look at their attendance, chronic absenteeism, suspensions, dibbles, MVPA, all of the things. And those are the decisions that we're making in terms, the decision points that we're looking at to determine if a student needs supplemental or intensive intervention.
That's good. Really good.
Any other forward-facing questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Hill. I turn to you for the 26-27 academic calendar for superintendent recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, I will ask our Chief of Strategy and Innovation, Beth Thompson, to come to the podium. As you will recall, we came to you last month with a report on the 2026-27 calendar. So we'll turn it over to Ms. Thompson to talk about where we are in the process.
Good evening. This evening I'll share with you the superintendent's recommendation for the 26-27 academic calendar. Within this report, I'll provide an overview of the 26-27 calendar development process, stakeholder feedback, and the superintendent's recommendation. I'll also provide supplementary information, such as drafted teacher workday designations and early release days. While not an official part of your vote, we know this information is helpful. As shared in our Board of Education report on January 28th previously this year, the academic calendar must maximize instruction for our students while meeting district policy, regulation, and state law. Shown here are the state and district requirements for the formation of the academic calendar as set by state law and district policy and regulation. Additionally, the state requires specific opening and closing dates for traditional calendars. As shown here, our academic year can begin no earlier than the Monday closest to August 26th and our academic calendar year must conclude no later than the Friday closest to June 11th. The process for the development of the 26-27 academic calendar recommendation presented to you this evening started back in December of 2024 with meetings of the 26-27 calendar working group. This work culminated in 2 drafts for consideration. A report was provided to you at the January 28th meeting. This kicked off a period of community feedback and engagement, and tonight I'm presenting to you the superintendent's recommendation. A public hearing will take place at the next Board of Education meeting on March the 25th, and the vote will take place on April the 8th. At the January 28th meeting, we provided you with an update on the development process. We shared 2 traditional calendar options as well as draft calendars for our early and middle colleges at our CPCC and UNCC campuses. Again, following that meeting, we launched a community survey in 10 languages to gather diverse perspectives from students, parents, staff, and community members. The survey was open from January 28th through February 13th. And tonight I'll share key insights from that feedback and how they influence the development of the final recommendation. In a 2-week period, 9,585 survey responses were received. We want to extend our deepest gratitude to all who participated in the survey. We received valuable feedback regarding the academic calendar options that were presented, and that feedback, in addition to the feedback from 227 people serving on Dr. Hill's superintendent advisory councils, shown here, was analyzed and used to inform the recommendation presented this evening. Of the 2 calendar options included in the survey, 58% of respondents preferred traditional calendar option 2. And when asked the reason for their preference, respondents highlighted the following top 4 reasons: the length and/or timing of winter break, alignment of students' days off to work schedules, length and timing of spring break, and longer uninterrupted instructional blocks for students. The public survey also provided respondents with the opportunity to give anecdotal feedback. From the comments received, there were several big priorities that emerged for stakeholders, shown on the left here. Survey respondents prefer 6 teacher workdays at the beginning of the school year to support professional development and preparation, starting the school year on a Tuesday, having a teacher workday at the end of each quarter to allow time for teachers grading and planning, having a full 2 weeks for winter break and a full week for spring break scheduled the week after the Easter holiday, and scheduling holidays or teacher workdays for religious observances wherever possible. Additionally, stakeholders offered ideas for consideration shown on the right. These included trying to have a teacher workday each month if possible, when we've been able to do that in this recommendation, with the exception of April and May due to advanced placement, international baccalaureate, end of grade, and end of course scheduled assessments. There is, however, an early release day at the very end of April to support this. Stakeholders also recommended advocating for state legislative changes to align the K-12 calendar with higher education institutions, advocating state legislative changes that would make it possible to start the school year earlier and conclude by Memorial Day, and a preference for ending semester 1 before winter break. And then finally, consideration of parental work schedules and childcare availability when designing the calendar. The survey results, advisory council feedback, and additional comments and ideas have been applied to the superintendent's recommendation this evening. Therefore, tonight you see on this slide the superintendent's recommendation for the 3 academic calendars for the 26-27 school year. The 3 calendars you'll be voting on in April include a traditional calendar for our elementary, middle, K-8, and high schools, the Central Piedmont Community College, or CPCC, early and middle college campus calendar, and the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, UNCC, early and middle college campus calendar. These shown here are the 3 calendars that would be up for a vote during the Board of Education meeting on April the 8th. The superintendent's recommendation for the traditional calendar shown here includes the items that we got feedback around. 6 teacher workdays before the start of school to allow for teacher preparation, a Tuesday start for students, teacher workdays at the end of each quarter, monthly teacher workdays or annual leave days, except in May due to end-of-year testing, and observance of diverse holidays. This is the first of the 3 calendars you'll vote on April the 8th. While not a part of your vote on April 8th, we thought it would be helpful to see the drafted dates for early release days on the traditional calendar so you can see the entire landscape to inform your vote. Shown here is the superintendent's recommendation for the traditional calendar, the same one you just saw, but with gray diamonds reflecting the 4 early release days, 1 per quarter. These early release days allow time for teacher professional development. There's an FYI icon on this slide. The inclusion of the early release days is an FYI. And also as an FYI, we thought it would be helpful to see the drafted teacher workday designations on that traditional calendar. This information will be ready for publication alongside the publication of the 26-27 calendars, pending your vote on April the 8th. The calendar before you now is specific to CPCC early and middle colleges. This calendar is aligned to the Central Piedmont Community College's academic calendar. And lastly, the final calendar before you this evening is the 26-27 academic calendar for UNCC early college schools. This option is designed to align with UNC Charlotte's academic schedule. This concludes the presentation with the superintendent's recommendation for the 26-27 academic calendars. I turn it over to Chair Sneed for questions.
Thank you. Board members, I'll take any questions.
I just wanted to first of all thank you for including students on the committee. It's deeply appreciated. I'm looking at slide 6 with the data. I was wondering, I saw that students weren't included in the breakdown. So how many responses were the students able to have access to the survey? And if so, do you know how many responses from students that there were?
Students were able to have access. I don't have that data before me at this time, but I'll be happy to get it for you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Board member Ship.
Yes, I basically just want to say this is a good calendar. I thank you for the feedback as you looked at all the real issues that the calendar supports for teachers, especially when we talk about instructional time. So I really just want to say good job, really taking a deep dive as to what's going to make a difference with our students in the schools as we develop a calendar for the next school year. Thank you so much.
Board member Easley.
This is a much better suggestion, so thank you, than we first saw. So thank you for taking all that into account. I say that, and I'm going to reiterate what you have already said. State law requires that we cannot start before the Monday, the 26th, and we must end June 11th. However, we have gotten lots of feedback from our community that they want the earlier calendar, and I know that has to be a legislative change. However, there are several districts that have been looking at their calendar to still fit within the guidelines, but yet get those, thank you, midterms before holiday break and ending, a little bit sooner or whatever. Have we looked at options of what that could look like for CMS?
So are you asking, have we looked at what it would look like to comply with state law, but also end before the break?
Correct.
We have looked at that. It is virtually impossible, given the date we have to start in August, and then the needs across any requirements. For example, Veterans Day has to be a holiday. That's also a part of state law. There are aspects of our district policy that require a teacher workday on election day or a primary or a presidential election. And so when you factor all of those things together, as well as holidays, it is not possible to adhere to the state law and finish prior to the winter break.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Oh, I didn't see.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I will reiterate to it, you know, we are advocating at the state level for change. And I think it's important that we do that to benefit our students as well. I think maybe it's a suggestion for next year's survey to really ask parents more open-ended what they want from a calendar too. Some additional feedback has been essentially year-round like Wake County does. I will say quite a few school districts, I was speaking to a friend whose school district actually extended their day to hit that target. So they've extended by 15 or 30 minutes a day, and they are now ending before the December break and then before Memorial Day as well. So just ideas for future calendars too, but I know we have to stay within the laws and instructional times as well too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Thompson. I turn to Dr. Hill for the 25-26 budget planning update report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, our Chief Financial Officer, Kelly Klutz, is coming to the podium to provide a report on our budget. As you all know, we have engaged several conversations to talk about our budget. This is the last report that we will have. The next time that we come before you, we'll be offering my recommendation to our board for our budget. Before we get started, I do want to mention just a few things. Our budget this year is tight, and that is based on our current revenue projections for the state and also local level, and then also the uncertainty regarding federal funds. But I do want to reiterate that while our budget is tight, it does not mean that Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools is in having any financial problems or concerns. If our assumptions hold true, we will be in really good financial standing. If any of our assumptions do not hold to be true, we will work really hard to make sure that we do the very best that we can to preserve the student experience. We are 100% committed to preserving the student experience. If you take a look at the slide, you will notice that our budget has 4 primary objectives. Number 1, to resource the Board of Education's goals. Number 2, to maintain our current operations. Number 3, to address long-standing compensation issues for our employees. And number 4, to address operational risk. So at this time, I will turn it over to Kelly Klutz.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Good evening. I'd like to begin by expressing my appreciation for your time and your commitment to ensuring that we make thoughtful financial decisions that best serve our students, staff, and our community. I'd also like to acknowledge the work that's taken place leading us up till tonight's presentation, your participation in the joint meeting with the county commissioners in January, the board retreat later that month, and the budget work session in February has been invaluable. Your thoughtful engagement and your insightful questions and valuable feedback during those sessions have played a key role in shaping the budget report that we're presenting tonight. Tonight's discussion will focus on key elements of the budget, including our financial position, our priority areas for investment, and strategies to address our goals. We're developing the budget in an environment where multiple factors are continuously changing. Many of these changes remain uncertain, making it difficult to plan effectively until we have more concrete information. As a result, we are carefully monitoring these developments and adjusting our approach to ensure that we maintain a responsible and strategic budget framework. Even with all of the budget constraints, we continue to be committed to protecting the student experience. CMS relies on 3 primary revenue sources for our operating budget. Our state fund is approximately 54% of our operating budget. The state develops a biennium budget, which is a 2-year financial plan. For the fiscal year 25-26 budget year, the state's revenue projection is flat. This means that North Carolina expects to receive roughly the same amount of revenue as in the prior year. However, with rising costs, maintaining flat revenue effectively results in a funding gap. Projections for the following year are even worse, and they're even more concerning, indicating that North Carolina is anticipating another budget shortfall. Revenue shortfalls are closely tied to the ongoing decrease in the North Carolina income tax rate. Also at the state level, there are discussions underway about potential changes to the state funding formulas, which could significantly impact CMS. The weighted student formula funding, this is a model that could, in theory, benefit large urban districts like CMS. The details remain unclear, so making that difficult to assess the impact on us. Also in discussions, an FTE funding model, that's full-time equivalent funding. This model resembles the funding frameworks used in universities and community colleges. This would have a significant negative impact on budget students and teachers here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. In addition, at the state level, the Board of State Health Plan has approved a plan to adjust health insurance premiums based on salary thresholds to balance the plan's budget. The plan is designed to address a $500 million deficit this year and an anticipated $800 million deficit in the following year. An illustration of potential premium changes was provided to highlight what employees might expect. $20 per month increase for lower paid employees, up from $25 per month to approximately $45 per month. A $60 per month increase for higher paid employees, up from the current $25 per month up to approximately $85 per month. Our local funding is 34.4% of our operating budget. As discussed in our joint meeting with the county commissioners, they're also anticipating a revenue shortfall, meaning that their projected expenses are expected to exceed their anticipated revenue. Given these constraints, we must be strategic and thoughtful in our funding requests to ensure that we prioritize the district's most critical needs during the period of limited budgets. Finally, our federal funds are about 8% of our operating budget. We have more information to share with you throughout the presentation tonight on federal funds. As we navigate through all these complexities, we have to get tight on everything, remembering that more than 75% of our operating budget is salary and benefits. We're already started the tightening in our allotment process this year by removing some vacant positions. We're anticipating cuts at the central office, and we'll share some more of those with you in the presentation tonight. As you know, the COVID pandemic started back in March 2020. Since that time, CMS received nearly $600 million in additional funds for that 5-year period. On average, the district had more than $100 million each year for the last 5 years. All those funds have been expended at this time, and we have to get back to pre-pandemic spending levels. In addition to receiving nearly $600 million in funds, we were also able to spend ESSER funds rather than spending our normal federal allocations. This allowed us to create a carryover, which can be utilized similar to a savings account for one-time expenses. As you can see from the chart, the carryover amount grew in 2022 through 2025, and then normalizing in our projections for 2026. The orange block represents the amount of carryover funds, and the chart provides numbers that are more clear for your understanding. As you can see from the chart above, 60% of the ESSER funds were used for salaries and benefits. Last year, when we were developing the budget, we were concerned about salary and benefits line and wanted to make sure that everyone had a position that wanted to work in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. We were extremely successful, and we were able to offshed those ESSER dollars, and we were able to avoid a RIF. This year, our focus is on the remaining categories that we will need to shift to find a solution for, solving for the remaining 40% of those ESSER dollars. Within our federal funds, there are two distinct types of funding described on the chart. As you can see, the federal grants that we are so dependent on are in the category of formula or entitlement grants. They're called formula grants because the amounts districts receive are often allocated by a formula, sometimes based on population, sometimes based on enrollment. Districts expect to receive these funds year over year. This allows us to hire staff to support schools with the expectation there should be minimal change year over year. The other type is discretionary or competitive grants, and these are the ones that we're hearing more about in the news. They are normally received based on competitive process and specific projects. They are generally not intended to be reoccurring in nature. This slide indicates the type of grants under both categories. Examples of the grants that we received termination letters are on the slide deck. The last 3 grants listed on the discretionary side are the ones that we received the termination letters for. We are in the appeal process, and we will continue to monitor and provide updates when we have them. Here is a little more information about the grants that we received termination letters for. As mentioned, we are on hold right now, waiting for more information. Once we have a clearer understanding of the impact, we will form committees to assess the situation. We'll gather key feedback from our key stakeholders, and then we will implement a structure base to determine prioritization. We recognize that these are difficult decisions, and we do not take them lightly. Our goal is to approach this process thoughtfully and strategically, ensuring that we make the best decisions for our students, staff, and our community. So we are committed to keeping you informed along the way. This slide shows the total amount of our federal funds allocation this year, received this year. The chart does not include carryover. We wanted to show you the amounts that could be at risk as identified as federal. And our first column shows the amount of each allotment. The second column is the number of positions within the funding source. The third column is the number of positions that are school-based. They are based in the school. And finally, the last column shows the number of staff who are serving the schools but may be in a different school each day, but the majority of their time is spent in school. There are some important points of clarity that we want to provide regarding these budget figures. The numbers presented, as I mentioned before, do not include carryover, which may differ from the figures that you might find in an online budget book. If you compare our budget to North Carolina Department of Public Instruction data, you will notice that the NCDPI categorizes CTE, Career Technical Education funds, within the state category. While the Perkins Act funding is federal, it's passed through the state funds and must adhere to federal requirements, which sometimes causes confusion when tracking funding sources. These are several key federal funding sources that play a critical role in supporting our district's program and services. However, we believe these particular funds may be at higher risk than other federal funds. Our Title I is improving basic education and neglected, delinquent, and at-risk youth. This typically considered federal funding for schools with a high population of low-income students. Our Title II is entitled Supporting Effective Instruction, and it typically funds academic support for new teacher efforts. Title III, entitled Multilingual Learners, typically considered to support multilingual learners and professional development. In total, more than $85 million for CMS to provide services for our teachers, our academic programs, and our students, especially those with the highest needs. These slides show more detail about our Titles I, II, and III. These funds are critical in supporting a wide range of roles and services across our district, including school-based certified staff. That's our teachers, our instructional specialists, our facilitators. Also, school-based non-instructional, non-certified staff. That's our teacher assistants, our tutors, and our translators. Central office staff like residency coordinators, McKinney-Vento managers, and directors. Other salary expenses associated are substitutes, stipends, and extended employment. This slide shows the breakdown that goes directly to schools in our Title I allocation. You can see that it's about $29.5 million. Principals use these funds to pay over 800 employees in some way. Principals are responsible for making decisions on how these funds are utilized to best serve their students. However, these decisions are made within very strict guidelines established by our federal government. This slide is entitled District Initiatives. However, you can see from this slide a large majority of those funds are allocated directly to schools as well. The gold star indicates school allocations. The blue star indicates a combination of district allotment and school allotment. Of the district initiatives, you can see that over $16 million goes to support our pre-K program at CMS. At this moment, I'd like to take a pause and turn over to Chief Thompson, who will provide more information on how we're resourcing our goals.
Good evening. In this portion of the report, I'm going to share with you information about anticipated goal-aligned inputs and investments in the 25-26 annual plan, specific to resourcing our 25-26 goal targets. The information I'm sharing this evening reflects work done and continuing to be done by divisional chiefs, department heads, and support staff. This work is shown on this slide as the third and fourth steps in our annual budget cycle and planning. Within this portion, I'll share the following: the 25-29 goals and guardrails, and anticipated goal-aligned areas of focus and investments in the 25-26 annual plan and 25-26 budget. The 25-29 five-year goals are shown here. The 25-29 guardrails are shown here. As shared at the Board of Education work session on February 18th, we see the following in our current performance. Current 24-25 performance goals in performance in goals 1 and 4 indicate we're on track to almost meet or exceed this year's annual targets. We must continue our efforts to ensure we continue to make the needed growth to achieve our 25-26 annual targets, Goal 1 requiring a 4% increase in 25-26, and Goal 4 requiring a 2% increase in 25-26. Current 24-25 performance in Goals 2 and 3 indicate we're progressing, but not on track to meet or exceed this year's annual targets. Given current performance, we're forecasting we'll need a 6 to 12% increase in Goal 2 literacy in grades 3-8 next year, and a 9 to 12% increase in Goal 3 Math 1 next year. While this year is not yet complete and a lot of hard work continues to happen this year, we anticipate that the areas we'll need to emphasize most in next year's plan are the projects and initiatives that ensure teachers in our Goal 2 and 3 classrooms are paid, trained, developed, and retained to achieve these rates of improvement. As a reminder, the 25-29 strategic plan outlines how we will consistently and with enough effort meet or even exceed the ambitious goals that lie before us. And at the highest levels of this plan, you can see that teachers are essential to achieving our 25-26 goal and guardrail targets. Teachers are the people who directly impact student learning. Our district work is in service of supporting the work of teachers. And our ability to pay, train, develop, and retain our high-quality teachers is required to meet our goal and guardrail annual targets and to ensure a workforce with stable, sustained skills and competencies for continued future success. We're using our theory of change to prepare the 25-26 annual plan specific to goals 1, 2, and 3. If supporting, training, and developing our teachers is critical, we need to be sure our service delivery model is set up for that. I want to highlight two things from our discussion at the budget work session on February 18th. We've recognized that the key lever for job-embedded professional development for our teachers are school-based literacy and math master teacher positions. Large-scale professional development resources can and should be provided by the district, but the daily support and coaching to teachers on instruction of students comes from master teachers who are right there in the school with teachers. When we fund school-based master teacher positions for each and every school, we're funding the training and development of our classroom teachers. We also need to be sure that our master teachers are supported, trained, and developed as well. Most often, an amazing classroom teacher is the one who moves into the role of a master teacher. And while many of the skills and competencies that made that teacher amazing when teaching students do indeed carry over to their work as a master teacher, they often need additional training and development in things like coaching teachers and facilitating grade-level teacher team meetings when moving into the role of a master teacher. That training, coaching, and development is provided by our high-quality district specialists. So when we fund district specialists, we're funding the training and development of our master teachers. We know it's critical that we sufficiently resource each of these inputs on the theory of change next year relative to the needed rates of improvement for goal attainment. We've worked with our partner Council of Great City Schools districts, engaging in student outcomes-focused governance around this body of work, specifically how to ensure goals are prioritized to be resourced or invested in to achieve rates of needed improvement. I'm going to walk you through the results of that partnership work and our internal work and our current planning relative to the 25-26 key levers for each of these inputs. Starting with the first input, I believe we referred to these as bricks last time, building upon each other, high-quality specialists. At our February 18th meeting, we said high-quality specialists are essential to providing training and development to master teachers. Specific specialist roles which serve this purpose are noted in the footnote on this slide. The total anticipated investment for the 25-26 school year is $10.6 million. This is based on an average specialist salary with benefits. These positions support goals 1, 2, and 3, and guardrail 1. Next, high-quality literacy and math master teachers. Again, at our February 18th meeting, we said that master teachers are roles in all 186 of our school buildings. The people serving in these roles provide job-embedded training and development to our teachers. Sometimes school leaders exchange these positions for multi-classroom leaders as a part of the Teacher Leader Pathway program using additional available funds. Information about these options for school principals is included in the footnote on this slide. But whether the position is a master teacher or a multi-classroom leader, the core function is the same, providing job-embedded training and development to our classroom teachers. These positions support goals 1, 2, and 3 and guardrail 1. There are 150 literacy master teachers serving in elementary, middle, K-8 in our 3 enrichment schools, serving students in grades 3-8 in the area of literacy. The total anticipated investment for the 25-26 school year is $15 million. There are 84 math master teachers serving in middle, K-8, high, and our 4 enrichment schools serving students in grades 6 through 12 in the area of math. The total anticipated investment for the 25-26 school year is $8.4 million. These calculations are based on an average master teacher salary with benefits. There is funding that school principals use for differentials for multi-classroom leader positions. The total anticipated investment for the 25-26 school year, should principals use that funding or available positions, is $4.4 million. Now we'll look at high-quality teacher professional development. This includes instructional professional development for teachers outside of what is in scope for a school-based master teacher. Anticipated inputs for 25-26 school year includes the continued implementation of our teacher instructional onboarding initiative called Crown Academy, including a district-wide professional development dashboard. The total anticipated investments for the 25-26 school year is $2.3 million. This investment supports goals 1, 2, and 3, as well as guardrails 1 and 4. Next are high-quality classroom teachers. We know we need to ensure there's a high-quality classroom teacher in every classroom to achieve our annual targets. Sometimes school leaders exchange these positions for impact teacher positions as part of the Teacher Leader Pathway program. Information about those options for principals is again noted in the footnote in this slide. but whether the position is a classroom teacher or an expanded impact teacher as a part of the Teacher Leader Pathway program, the core function is the same, providing high-quality instruction to students. These positions support goals 1, 2, and 3, and guardrail 1 and 4. There are 1,687 teachers providing K-2 students with literacy instruction, 1,569 teachers providing 3-8 students with literacy instruction, and 230 teachers instructing students in Math 1. The total anticipated investment for the school year is $319.7 million. Please note that this investment does not reflect the total investment in all of our classroom teachers in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, and these calculations are based on an average teacher salary with benefits. There is funding for school principals to use for differentials for Teacher Leader Pathway expanded impact teacher positions. The total anticipated investment for this in the 25-26 school year is $2.7 million. There are staff members serving in the divisions of teacher recruitment, retention, and talent development and human resources whose core function is to ensure we have high-quality classroom teachers. The total anticipated investment for the 25-26 school year is $7.6 million. The teacher residency program supports people wanting to gain alternate licensure to be able to serve students in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. There are currently over 300 future teachers already signed up to participate this summer and enter our workforce in the fall of 2025. The total anticipated investment is $0.9 million. New this year is a goal-aligned financial consideration specific to Goal 3, a high school Math 1 teacher recruitment and performance bonus. More information is forthcoming. The total anticipated investment is $0.7 million. Next is high-quality core instruction. Anticipated inputs include the following: ongoing costs to provide curricular resources to teachers and students. The total anticipated investment for the goal-aligned areas for the 25-26 school year is $16 million. Refreshed devices for students in grades 6 and 9 to access curricular resources, as well as extended learning opportunities shown in the footnote on this slide. The total anticipated investment for the 25-26 school year is $4 million. And extended learning opportunities such as high-dosage tutoring, iReady, extended learning programming, summer learning programming, and credit recovery. The total anticipated investment for the 25-26 school year is $14.7 million. These inputs support goals 1, 2, and 3, and guardrail 1. Next, we have student engagement. These inputs and investments support goals 1, 2, and 3, as well as guardrails 1, 2, and 3. We're engaging in a multi-year implementation of a district-wide framework to ensure our school environments, a component of ICE, instruction, curriculum, and environment, foster student well-being. The total anticipated investment for the professional development being conducted in the 25-26 school year is $2 million. Counselors, social workers, and psychologists provide core, supplemental, and intensive services within buildings to support student success in school. The total anticipated investment for these positions in the 25-26 school year added together is $85.5 million, including $47.2 million for counselors, $19.8 million for social workers, and $18.5 million for psychologists. School-based safety and security staff, such as behavior modification technicians and campus security associates, provide supports in our schools to ensure safe school environments. The total anticipated investment for these positions in the 25-26 school year is $21.8 million. And finally, we have family engagement. Ensuring family understanding of student progress and how to use available resources to extend learning within and outside of the school day is essential to student success. This investment is aligned to goals 1, 2, and 3, and guardrail 1. A continued key input for the 25-26 school year is Family Academy. The total anticipated investment in the 25-26 school year is $1.4 million. In conclusion, we have the key inputs that are absolutely essential to achieve our goals. Each of these inputs needs to be in place, and we cannot forsake any of them. We've identified significant key levers to be prioritized for the 25-26 school year, and I've shared those with you this evening. We have anticipated investments associated with each of these key levers, investments that are sufficient to meet next year's annual targets and also demonstrate financial prudence. We also have to invest in what's needed to run our broader organization, and we'll do that while keeping our focus and priority on student outcomes. Given our limited resources, you should have confidence that the key levers and associated investments shared with you this evening, investments centered on elevating teachers as the people who directly impact student learning on a daily basis when partnered with current and anticipated external funding and partnership opportunities, are indeed prioritized to achieve the 25-26 goal targets. I now turn it back over to Chief Financial Officer Klutz for the next section and then questions.
Thank you. Let's begin looking at the identified needs for our 2025-26 budget. So at this time, we do not have information regarding the 25-26 state budget or any salary increases that may be included. To ensure that we are prepared, CMS is budgeting with an assumed 3% increase in salaries. The assumption is based on an average of state salary increases over the past 5 years. This proactive approach allows us to plan responsibly while we wait official state budget details. Similarly, we do not have information on benefit rate adjustments that may be included in the 25-26 state budget. For planning purposes, CMS is budgeting with an assumed 4.24 increase in benefits. This estimate reflects the average benefit rate of adjustments over the last 5 years. Changes in charter school enrollment would also impact CMS funding. Any increase in enrollment in existing charter schools or an addition of a new charter school will reduce the amount of funding available for CMS students. While we are working on the assumptions at this stage, our goal is to build a budget that is both realistic and responsible. We will continue to monitor updates from the state and make adjustments as needed to ensure that our resources effectively support students, staff, and schools. Our annual plan identifies paying, training, and retaining our teachers better. Our list of currently identified needs reflect that. The needs include advocating for state-driven salary and benefits adjustments, advocating for increased certified supplements, funding to support the recommendation of Phase 2 compensation study. With current funding, you recently approved paying some of our lower-paid and critical employees, teacher assistants, custodians, nutrition members, just to name a few, at least $20 per hour. This was a step in the right direction to become more competitive with other public organizations and private industry. By securing funding and approval for Phase 2, it will allow us to reward years of service and make annual adjustments. In addition to salary and benefits, we're also planning for a $4 million investment in student devices. This investment represents the second year of a 4-year plan designed to ensure that every student has access to a device to support their learning. Providing reliable and updated technology is essential for equitable access to educational resources and academic success. In the appendix of this slide deck that can be found on board docs, you will find an executive summary of each of the identified needs that are discussed today. Given the projected shortfalls facing all 3 of our primary funding sources, the state, county, and federal government, we're taking a responsible approach by identifying strategic cuts and reallocations to fund critical priorities listed here. To address budget constraints, we have identified $5.7 million in reductions, delays, or alternative funding strategies. These adjustments reflect our commitment to responsible financial management. By making strategic reductions and pursuing alternate funding sources, we are ensuring that we can support critical initiatives while respecting the budget constraints that we face. While these decisions are difficult, they are necessary to balance our budget and prioritize our investments that directly impact students. We believe this approach reflects our commitment to being good stewards of resources. Shown here are one-time costs that must be considered as we balance the budget. They are one-time in nature, and generally this is not something we would request from our county partners. $1.25 million of it has been identified in the current year budget to support the Infinite Campus transition. For the other areas indicated below, we are considering options that include utilization of lapsed salaries or unspent operating fund. As we previously shared, we have already allocated lapsed salary as a part of our budget planning process. However, because salary and benefit represents the largest portion of our budget, 77%, there is still a possibility that a small amount will become available. Despite our proactive budgeting, factors such as unexpected vacancies, hiring delays, or position changes can result in additional lapsed salary dollars that weren't previously allocated for. If CMS were to spend 99.9966% of its budget, the remaining 0.0034%, a very small percentage, would still be enough to cover most of the items identified at the top. While we are exploring these options, it's important to understand that any available funds will likely be limited. If sufficient funds are not available, some projects may need to be delayed, canceled, or adjusted to fit within the available resources. Madam Chair, we have completed this section and are available for questions.
All right, thank you to all of you for this presentation. Board members, we're taking this budget planning update into 3 sections. This is the first section where we've covered the budget landscape, theory of change, and review of identified needs. Are there any questions regarding what's been presented thus far?
Okay.
Vice Chair Rankin.
My first question would be around the last, one of the last slides under identified needs. Let me get to it. It's recurring, the one-time ask.
Okay.
If we know this is a need, it sounds like you're looking for additional strategies to pay for these needs. Is there a reason why this wouldn't be included in the ask versus other strategies?
Yes, there's a reason. It's because they're one-time in nature. So when we go to the county and ask, we're looking for more reoccurring type items to be able to continue those funding sources. It's not advisable to go and ask for funding for one time and then it reverts back. So your funds are then decreased the following year and you can't depend on that. So it's much better not to ask the county for one-time funds. There are some special situations where you would, and some of this might fall into that category, but we're just, we feel like there's some of this we'll be able to fund at the end of the year, possibly.
Quick follow-up. Being that, we have this transition using Infinite Campus, which I think is going to be important with this transition, is that not the type of support that will be recurring over the years? No?
No, because we're just making the transition this one time. So we're converting from Power School to Infinite Campus. It's just a one-time transition. So we just need extra bodies, extra support to work additional hours and provide additional support during that transition time of new learning.
Okay, thank you.
So on page 16 is the...
Thank you for this and the work that's been put in since in what we're asking, or is it like 50% or 80% already there and just a reallocation?
We'd have to pull numbers to be very specific, to be exact, but the majority of things are currently in play.
Okay.
And where you would see the shift would be specific to goals 2 and 3 if we need a higher rate of improvement. And obviously, we're just basing off of projections. Our monitoring report tonight for grades 3-5 looked more on track. But we want to make sure that we are not planning for worst case scenario, but we're fully prepared to be able to make the needed gains within the range that our projections are providing right now. And in places where we see that what we're doing is currently working and our rate of improvement is pretty similar, then we would want to continue with current investments in goals 2 and 3, and we'll be sharing a little bit more about Math 1 specifically. Those are the places where we'd be honing in.
Yeah, so can I do a follow-up there? So for instance, like I'm on slide like, let's see, 29, the high quality teachers. You have, 319 million, the teacher pathways, recruitment, retention. Are all these, do you guys have like what if this is in place versus what will be like a positive or negative from where we are today?
I do not have that currently at the moment.
Okay.
We can look into that, but again, when I look across the majority of these things, what would be new is the high school Math 1 teacher recruitment, and that's more information about that is going to be shared in the next section attached to compensation.
Okay, perfect. Maybe that's what I was looking for. It's like what's like current versus net new versus a decrease potentially.
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon.
Thank you. Referencing page 7, another possible spending cliff. How are those? How much time does the district have to spend those carryover funds?
So the carryover funds from ESSER expired September 30th, so they've already expired. But the buildup of the carryover, most federal grants are a 3-year term. So it depends on when we acquired those carryovers. So over a 3-year period, they would all fall off. But as you can see, we're not anticipating but about $16 million in our 2026 budget of carryover. So we've actually spent all of those carryover funds in this year, or they're budgeted to be spent in this fiscal year right now.
Okay. Board membership?
Yes, as you mentioned, people are so important to everything that happens in the schools. And thank you for this report. But as I look at, and I'm on page, I think this is maybe page 31, talking about key levers when we look at, well, of course, teachers, but counselors, social workers, and psychologists. Have we looked at being competitive to recruit here in their salaries? Because I think this is so important that we need them, but we know it's a competitive market. So as we look at the investments, have we looked at that?
It'll be the one that says student engagement.
Student engagement.
And so, Chief Klutz, those would be a part of our compensation section upcoming, specifically counselors, social workers, and psychologists. Yes.
Right, in the certified teacher supplement, the certified supplement, these counselors, social workers, psychologists are all included in that. And of course, they're also included in the state anticipated pay adjustment as well.
Okay. Board Member Klein. Oh, did you have a follow-up? Sorry.
I did. Go ahead and I'll come back.
Okay.
This is a different question.
Okay.
but-
Board Member Klein.
I'm going to go back further, and it's one of the budget landscape. Just for clarification for the public and for everybody, would you clarify the potential formula changes? Because it's going to change. There's already feedback that schools are losing staff, and staff is a little concerned about that, especially when classes are 34 in some of the high schools. So will you explain the difference between the weighted and the full-time equivalent, the FTE?
Sure. As we mentioned earlier, we do not have details on what the formula would look like if it went to student-weighted staffing. However, we are currently implementing a model of student-weighted staffing with our exceptional children's funds. So the student-weighted staffing that we're talking about, the potential discussions right now, often would help a district like CMS because of our demographics and the students that we serve. However, because we haven't seen the formula, there's no details attached to that. We can't be sure of that.
So a little bit of a follow-up. I know like up in 9th grade on the high school, it's a 1 to 26.5. But 10 to 12, it's 1 to 27.5 with the allotments. Can you explain how you came up with that? And yet again, we have lots of schools with classes of 34 to 35, 36 in a classroom because of the lack of teachers or not having staffing
Sure, of course. So the North Carolina Department of Instruction provides an allotment formula for all levels of our education, K through 12, and that provides the funding base and the funding foundation. So the numbers that you described are the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction's allotments. So in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, we have traditionally been even more generous to our schools than what the state funds, and we continue to be more generous even in the current budget situation. I think where there is cause for concern is if we do go to a full-time equivalent funding, especially for our high schools, because what that means is that the state will give us dollars for the amount of time that students are in our building. So just like a college, a community college, a university, if you're only 50% in the school, you're only taking 50% of classes, then we only get 50% of the dollars for the students. So when we think about our high schools, elementary, middle, probably not that big of a change, but when we think about our high schools, there's a lot of reasons that a high school student might not be in school full-time. They might just choose not to be in school full-time in their senior year. They may graduate after first semester. They may be taking community college courses. They may be taking online courses. They may be taking the virtual courses. All of those things would impact our funding, which would reduce the amount of teachers that we have at the high school level, which would cause that situation to be worse.
Follow-up? Well, that was a follow-up, but go ahead.
So how does that affect our middle colleges and our dual enrollment? Where would we continue with that or say we don't need it so we can have teachers in the buildings? I'm just putting it in the universe, as I like to say.
Lots of great questions we would have to consider if the funding model changed. They have been talking about this. This is not the first year that they've talked about it. So we hope that they will not implement this model, but it is something that's being discussed.
Okay, thank you.
Board membership.
Right, and kind of in line too with Board Member Klein, looking at elementary, and we talk about the enrollment, and we talk about teacher assistants and what the state puts in place. But are we there when we talk about having teacher assistants in our K-2 classrooms? What are we looking at in terms of, this budget in terms of trying to fund teacher assistants and ensuring we have those teacher assistants? We need them in the classroom with the classroom teachers.
Certainly, the allotment formula that DPI provides certainly does not provide the amount of staff, but that's common in all of our allotments. I don't know one allotment that I would say DPI adequately funds at the level that we think is appropriate. So it's consistent.
Vice Chair Rankin.
Ms. Thompson, thank you for your presentation, because I think yours is important because if you look at it, it bridges the gap between the budget and our goals, which is really important. We're talking about high quality. We're talking about high quality specialists, we're talking about high quality master teachers, and we're talking about high quality teachers. Can you talk through just maybe clarifying or defining how we determine that all those different positions are high quality?
Yes. The primary way that we look at that, and really it's not just within Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, but within the state, would be through looking at teacher performance based on growth through the EVAS system. And interestingly enough, the timing is kind of interesting because just last week, a report was produced at the state level on the status of our EPPs, or our education preparation programs. And one of the things this report was specifically looking at was not just the number and percent of people who are graduating or completing the program, but the number and percent of teachers who both completed and finish their first year with as an effective status, which would mean they're growing students at a rate of at least 1 year. So there is work to be done in terms of defining what the skills and competencies are by role. We're farther along in that work with teachers than we are with master teachers or specialists. But that's part of the importance of the investment in a professional development platform where we could say teachers have had this type of training, this type of development. This is what we should consistently see happening in classrooms, either the skills and competencies they have, and then how that's transferring into professional development. So there's this kind of a loop between hiring people, making sure we engage in really good training and development, walking into classrooms to see that in action, and then looking at student outcomes as we would do in a monitoring report. Is that helpful?
Yes, it is. Follow-up. So it sounds like we do have a tool that we can measure a high-quality teacher, but when it comes to, say, a master teacher or our high-quality specialist, we're still developing. Can we, are we in the mind frame of how we can figure out how to do some type of alignment to the high-quality teachers, student outcomes for our individual goals, and who they're receiving coaching from to show that, hey, this $10.6 million is affected by this much because of this linear attachment to the goal and the outcome. Is there some way we can figure out how to align all 4 of those areas?
What you're speaking to really basically is the theory of change and our ability to know, are the bricks or inputs within the theory of change working in isolation? And then when we put them together, are they producing the anticipated outcomes? And that's work we absolutely have to be able to do. And as a part of our continuous improvement work, candidly, to hit the ambitious goals before us, we're going to have to engage in that work, engage in it quickly, and then apply the learning. I think you referenced it earlier. How do we know what we're learning? And then how do we make sure we're able to act on it to continuously improve so that we're able to achieve those outcomes? So that is the goal of this continued work around the theory of change and these investments.
Thank you.
All right, board members. Oh, sorry.
One more.
Yeah, sorry.
So this one's quick, too. On slide 38, in the section identified needs, I know we talked about the recurring and the recurring alternative funding. Is this where, just to clarify, is this where you guys are introspectively looking at like where we can make cuts to help fund these initiatives? It's kind of the first question. And the second part is like some of them say delayed, for instance, so we may not even ask for that. Is that kind of the intention of this slide? I'm just trying to understand it. Okay.
Yes, it's the redirects, things that we're searching within. We've made decisions on all of the items that say cut central office budget. All of those decisions have been made. We found either vacant positions or non-personnel expenses that we're able to identify to apply to these things. You're right, there is 1 or 2 that's delayed, but we are seeking grant funding and we're seeking partnerships, and we haven't given up on the task.
So you're still, okay.
We're still working
Got it. I
on
just wanted to understand. Thanks for clarifying.
All right, Dr. Hill, I turn to you for part 2 of our budget discussion, compensation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief Klutz.
Thank you. A significant focus of our budget is ensuring that we continue to invest in people, so our teachers, our staff, and our leaders. Despite our funding challenges, we recognize that providing compensation, competitive compensation, is critical to attracting and retaining top talent. So with that in mind, we prioritized our key compensation adjustments to better align with market rates and support those who are the greatest impact on student outcomes. I'll now walk you through the details of the compensation increases included in this budget. We'll start with the certified teacher supplement. So let's get a better understanding of teacher compensation in North Carolina. All teachers in North Carolina earn a state-determined and funded base salary established by the North Carolina Teacher Salary Scale. This scale sets the foundation for teacher pay across the state. In addition to their base, most teachers in North Carolina receive a state-determined and funded supplement. However, it's important to note that teachers in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, Wake County, Guilford County, and Durham County are excluded from this state supplement. The overwhelming majority of teachers in North Carolina, including those in CMS, receive a locally determined supplement funded by the local Board of County Commissioners. This supplement is designed to help districts remain competitive and attract qualified educators. In some districts with a taxing authority or additional support from their local government, teachers may receive an additional local supplement beyond what is funded by their county commissioners. When looking at the average certified supplement in the state, you will see that CMS is currently second highest. It is our goal to have the highest certified supplement in the state. I'm going to pause here because we're going to have more information in the slide deck to share with you. So during the recent budget board work session, the board emphasized 3 key priorities when establishing a supplement schedule. You said ensuring that all certified employees receive an increase was important to you. You also said providing an additional increase for certified employees with 15+ years of service, and also leveling out the dips in the current pay structure. Our proposed model aligns with these priorities and directly supports recruitment and retention efforts. As far as recruitment, there's a 4% increase built in for all. This across-the-board adjustment makes our supplement schedule more competitive, helping us attract new talent by ensuring that our salaries remain aligned with the market. By addressing some of the inconsistencies in our pay structure, we create a cleaner and more predictable salary progression, making our district a more attractive career destination. As far as retention, there's a 1% additional increase for 15+ years of service. This targeted increase is critical because the state salary schedule becomes relatively flat after steps 15. Without the alignment, experienced employees may feel their long-term commitment is undervalued. By adding this increase, we recognize their dedication by providing an incentive to remain with the district. The graph shows how we currently compare with districts like Wake, Chapel Hill, and the impact of our recommendation for the fiscal year 25-26 budget. The previous slide looks at the supplement in isolation. This chart shows the teacher base salary plus supplement for the total salary view, and we provided the numbers at the bottom right corner for ease of vision. So let's just discuss for a moment total teacher pay. As we mentioned earlier, in North Carolina, teacher pay is governed by state law, which outlines the framework for how teachers are compensated. General statute establishes that the state base pay is the foundation for teacher pay, ensuring consistency across all school districts. By law, the state is responsible for funding the base salary, which applies uniformly across North Carolina regardless of regional cost differences. The state salary schedule is not designed to account for significant differences in the cost of living between regions. While CMS's supplement may appear competitive on paper, it often falls short when adjusted for Charlotte's higher housing, transportation, and daily living costs. Because CMS cannot independently alter the state base pay, continued advocacy for improvements to the state salary schedule are essential. Increasing the state's base pay would provide a stronger foundation, allowing CMS to further enhance its supplemental pay efforts. North Carolina's funding model places responsibility to base pay on the state. CMS remains committed to advocating for increases at the state base pay while continuing to prioritize competitive supplements that affect the true cost of living in Mecklenburg County. The chart illustrates how difficult it would be to meaningfully increase total teacher pay with the current funding model. Here we want to get a better understanding of the state supplemental funding. North Carolina provides supplemental funding to eligible LEAs, local education agencies to support educational needs. The eligibility criteria for the funding supplement are based solely on the district's local tax base, not educational needs, staffing challenges, or cost of living factors. To qualify for the formula for the funding, an LEA must be located in whole or in part in a county with an adjusted market value of taxable real property of less than $50.9 billion. And that's based on data provided by the Local Government Commission. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools is one of the only 4 districts excluded from this funding because Mecklenburg County's tax base exceeds $50.9 billion threshold. The formula assumes that districts with larger tax bases can independently meet their educational funding needs, but this overlooks the increased expenses that come with operating in a high-cost metropolitan area. Without access to these supplemental funds, CMS must rely more heavily on local funding to provide competitive teacher pay, placing a greater strain on Mecklenburg County resources. To ensure a more equitable funding model, the state funding formula should consider additional factors such as regional cost of living differences, population density and urban challenges, and staffing needs of a larger district. On the slide, the absence of the orange bar for CMS reflects a significant funding gap that places our district at a clear disadvantage. This graph shows the average teacher salary and supplement, building on the earlier chart that focused on starting teacher pay. The absence of the orange bar, again, for CMS remains significant, highlighting the continued funding gap CMS faces without access to state supplemental funding. While Chapel Hill Carborough appears to be one of the most competitive supplements, it's important to note that the district benefits from a special education tax in Orange County. The dedicated tax provides additional local funding that enhances their ability to offer higher salaries, an option that CMS does not have. Despite being excluded from the state supplemental funding and lacking a dedicated education tax like Chapel Hill, CMS continues to prioritize investments in teacher pay. However, without access to the additional resources, we face greater challenges in offering the most competitive compensation packages. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about our classified employee compensation study phase 2. And for clarification, when we discuss classified employees, these are employees who primarily support the district's daily operations and generally are not certified to teach. There are over 390 unique titles. Major groups include, but are not limited to, our bus drivers, custodians, teacher assistants, clerical, and maintenance staff. After ensuring that our lowest paid employees now earn a minimum of $20 per hour, we're moving forward with phase 2 of the compensation study. The next phase focuses on bringing the next group of employees to closer to market rates, reinforcing our commitment to fair and competitive pay across the district. Phase 1 focused on bringing pay grades 6, 7, and 8 and bus drivers to approximate market, understanding that market is a fluid number. Phase 2 will focus on pay grades 9 and above, with the goal being getting closer to market. We may not achieve market on all schedules in Phase 2. However, we will continue the work in Phase 3. We know to get to market it will cost more money than is available, so we're backing our recommendation into the amount of money that we think is financially responsible. Positions vary and will reach approximate market at different points in time. For this reason, the recommendation we present may require different step increments to get to the same goal, the goal being market. Failure to recognize the difference would mean that some positions would never get to market and other positions would get to market very early and may need to be frozen. To avoid this, we believe our recommendation will come with a different step increments. Our lower paid employee grades are already comparable to market with the 0.5% step increase. Next, Dr. Daniels will introduce a strategy with a focus on improving outcomes in Math 1. Dr. Daniels.
Thank you, Ms. Klutz. Good evening. I am excited for the opportunity to share with you the Math 1 Excellence Bonus proposal. The Math 1 Excellence Bonus is an incentive designed to increase the quality of math instruction to educators who demonstrate excellence in teaching. This bonus opportunity rewards teachers who are committed to innovative teaching strategies and improving student outcomes to increase the district's current college and career readiness from 26% to reaching our goal of 57% by 2029. So we focused on all 14 Title I high schools and ranked them according to their identified student percentage. Starting with Turning Point Academy, that has 129% to 75% of eligible students from Mallard Creek High School, a newly designated Title I school. This slide represents a visual image of the two school categories, Title I and non-Title I, that have been broken down into several data points. The first data point is the number of students taking Math 1 and the percentage of students it comprises. Below is a table that shows the percentage of students that scored grade level proficiency and college and career readiness over the past 3 years. The last column in each table shows the rate of improvement using the data from the last 3 years. As we can see from the comparison, the difference in the number of students and the percentage makeup is very similar, while the difference in achievement in both grade level proficiency and college and career ready is vastly different. The rate of improvement is also very similar in both categories of schools. As a result, if Title I schools were to achieve their goal and non-Title I schools maintain the same results in 2023 and 2024, there is a 14.4% increase. And if all schools were to achieve their goals, we are closer to meeting this year's target of 37.4%, increasing the rate of improvement. As it relates to our investment, we are placing 960 students in front of excellent teachers, leveraging bonus opportunities for 32 teachers, with a total investment of $728,000 of our Title I district set-aside, creating endless possibilities for students as well as staff. At this time, I'll turn it back over to our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Klutz.
Thank you. Madam Chair, we have completed this section on compensation, and we are prepared for questions at this time.
All right, board members, any questions on compensation? Board member none?
Thank you for this presentation. I'm just gonna, since we're on the Math 1 Excellence bonus, this last slide, slide 55, you were speaking to, you have $728,000 in investment, but 32 teachers. Is that divisible by those 32, or is that investment going into other things other than personnel?
So that is divisible by 32, and there is a small expense that also covers other personnel, materials, and other items.
Okay. So roughly that's like $22,000 per teacher?
Roughly, the maximum bonus is around $15,000.
So to clarify that.
Board member Easley. Well, did you have a follow-up? Sorry.
No, that clarifies it for me.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
My question goes to the, I don't know what side it is, the district supplement teacher, district comparison, where we're looking at Wake. I think it's 43 and 44. Wake County, you have a local supplement here of, you know, the last couple of years. Over the past 2 years, Wake County has used some of their county dollars to pay for the master's degree of teachers. While I understand there are different viewpoints of this, and I don't want to get into that, in these numbers, does that include that supplement?
It is not reflected.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Rankin.
Looking at around the Math 1 bonus, we are identifying educators who demonstrate outstanding teaching excellence. I think this is slide 52. Are there set criteria that we're using to identify teachers that are demonstrating outstanding excellence that can be used across the board and used objectively?
Absolutely. We are certainly looking at several different areas. Most importantly, teachers must demonstrate the ability to be able to move the needle as it relates to student outcomes. So there is proof in which they have to have at least 4 years of prior teaching experience, as well as 2 years of demonstrated documented high progress as it relates to student outcomes. Along with that is also a principal recommendation.
Thank you.
Board Member Klein?
A follow-up to Vice Chair Rankin's question about math. You've got the 14 Title I schools that have been identified, but there are some high schools that are just right outside Title I, and those Math 1 teachers will be responsible for achieving their goals, but there will be no financial compensation, or will there be a plan to compensate those teachers because they face the same challenges as the Title I? And I'm talking about that one that's not right at Title I, but it's not Title I. And we have a few like that.
I think we're anticipating this being a pilot model to see if we can get some results and return on our investment. And assuming that this returns our investment, we will look next year into the budget to see if we can duplicate this in non-Title I schools. Certainly, if we did that, we would then have to ensure that we're paying for the Title I schools and the non-Title I schools and not use Title I dollars. But this is a pilot program. We're looking for success and return on our investment.
Board Member Shep?
So here you're saying we're looking at Title I funding for this program, so they would have to be in that.
That's correct.
So, and that's why you don't right now see funding to be able to reach some of these other schools.
That's correct.
And it's pilot right now, pilot. Okay.
Pilot program.
Vice Chair Rankin?
Just for clarity, I just want to make sure. These are 14 Title I high school, but there are more. There are more Title I high schools that aren't on this list either, right? Am I correct?
These are the 14 Title I schools for this year.
For this year, but I just want to make sure but there are more than 14 Title I high schools. Am I correct?
These are the 14 Title I high schools.
Just for this? Yes, I mean, I know for this.
This is it. This is the 14.
So we only have 14, we have a total of 14 total, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Board Member Easley?
Yeah, this is more of a statement than a question, and just something to think about. The state does math and language arts bonuses for teachers, and a unintended consequence of that is it pits teachers against one another, and it causes animosity in the schools. You know, if you have a principal that doesn't care for you personally, there's a personal issue, then they're not going to recommend you. I just want to make sure that we have an even playing field and that we aren't pitting our math teachers against one another because of a financial bonus, which every teacher is so desperate to need. And I want to make sure that that is documented and known, because I've seen, as a science social teacher, I never got a bonus, but I worked just as hard as my math and language arts partners. So I don't want to create more of this competitiveness within our district because of this. So that is a concern that I do have.
Thank you. That's great feedback. Thank you.
Board Member Klein?
I'm going to ask the elephant in the room. This is great. I love it. You've done a lot of hard work. But it's all predicated on if we get Title I funding, correct?
Certainly would cause some difficulty if we did not.
So, if we don't get it, the federal government's in a 7-hour news cycle. What if they say all Title I fund, and we know the Department of Ed is in an uproar, this could possibly cut Title I. What contingency plans do you have to address these needs?
This is a very extremely small portion of the Title I budget. If our Title I budget was cut, we would have significantly larger problems than this bonus that we would have to deal with in a structured way and determine what's best for our district at that time.
Just need to address the elephant in the room.
Are there any other questions about Part 2 compensation? All right, I turn to Dr. Hill for Part 3 to discuss the 5-year plan, capital funding, and to close us out.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief Klutz will begin, and Chief Ivy is also approaching the podium.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. We're presenting our 5-year financial forecast. As we look into the future, we know that it's important to plan for more than only one budget cycle to keep our finances stable. Without looking ahead, we risk constantly reacting to unexpected expenses. And to prevent this, we're adding long-term planning to our department budget reviews, working to identify potential expenses before they happen so that we can plan. Because the state budget is often finalized later in the year, we'll use past spending trends to help estimate future needs and to ensure that we're prepared. We have shared with you our 5-year financial forecast as we see it now. It is a living document, and we will continue to add over time. And so now I'll turn it over to Mr. Tim Ivy, who will share information about our capital and bond funds and how they support our long-term planning efforts.
Thank you. I just want to go over to start off with, just to give an overview of how our capital funding is allocated from the county. As you can see, in 2022, we received $22.9 million. And then in 2023, we received $32.9 million. In 2024, we went back to what we consider a normal allocation of $22.9 million. But then in 2025, we received some additional funding that was made up of 2 specific categories, and those were aligned to completing a facilities condition assessment, which I'll go into in just a minute. Those funds were made up from a one-time funding from the county, which made up $10 million. And it was made up from the other part was made up from, which is shown here in the yellowish color, from repurposed bond funds. And those funds are allocated based on when a bond project or bond projects from 2017 came back on time and under budget. The county then has to give us permission to take those funds and reallocate those for capital projects. So moving into our 2026 allocation or recommendation, we are anticipating asking for another one-time of $10 million since we are in the process of completing Phase 2 and 3 of the FCA, which would cover all the schools in CMS and give us the data that we had from our initial FCA, which was just for 30 schools, and those were 30 schools that were not covered in the 2017 or the 2023 bond. So on this slide, you can see how the FCA data, what it told us. So the initial data told us that the total repair and replacement cost was somewhere around $57.4 million. Of course, out of that, the equipment that was analyzed, there was $42.8 million that was considered poor and very poor. And then we received 21.7, which is made up of the 11.7 of bond repurposed money and the 10 million one-time charges. That, along with our 22.9 million, gave us the $44.6 million that we were allocated this current school year. So that breakdown is, again, the 22.9, the $10 million of additional funding, and then our 11.7 are bond savings or a bond repurposed money to give us that total amount that we're utilizing this year. So since we're in the process of moving forward, the FCA data, what it showed us for 30 schools was that we had 130 projects that needed to be addressed. Out of those, 53.5% was on roofing. Our breakdown for our capital project summary, those projects were allocated based off of work orders and information that our technicians already knew about schools and requests that had been put in. Those covered 44 projects, and the majority of those projects were in HVAC, with 48.4% of the funds going toward that. So moving forward, What we anticipate to see happen with our Phase 2 and 3 of the FCA, which again will cover all schools in CMS and give us detailed information about all of the equipment and needs there, is if 30 schools produced $57 million in need, with 42% of it being poor and very poor, we anticipate that once we get the FCA data back at the end of the school year, we will see a much greater need. And so we would ask that the county would give us the one-time funding of $10 million above the 22.9 that they currently, or 22.6 that they currently fund, so that we're able to continue to move forward as we analyze that data and get it put into our system so we can do long-range capital planning.
Okay. We've covered a lot of information today. This is where we are now in the middle of the column or the document, March 2025, a key point in our process. So our next steps include March 25th, we'll make a presentation of the superintendent's budget recommendation. On April the 2nd, we have 2 community engagement opportunities. One is virtual, and it's at 1 p.m., and the other is in person. It's at 6 p.m. at J.M. Alexander Middle School. There's an opportunity for the public to provide input on April 8th at the budget public hearing. And then on April the 22nd, we will present the budget for the board's consideration and approval. We remain committed to building a budget that reflects our district needs while maintaining accountability and fiscal responsibility. Madam Chair, this concludes our budget report for the evening.
Thank you all for your detailed and thoughtful budget presentation. Board members, I turn to you if there are any final questions.
One quick question.
Vice Rankin?
I want to make sure I heard Mr. Ivy correctly. So right now we have $22 million in recurring for maintenance that we received from the county, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and you're saying that after this FCA report is done, depending on what the results are, there may be an additional one-time request possibly made based on what the report says. Is that right?
So what we were doing was the FCA is in progress. It was just approved for us to move forward with the FCA, which would be the next phase, which would cover the remaining schools beyond those 30 that were initially looked at. So based off our initial data from the 30 schools, and since that this one covers over 100 schools, we realized that we're going to find potentially a large amount of deferred maintenance and equipment that is going to be identified as poor and very poor that we're going to need to make a capital plan to address. So we are wanting to go forward with the recommendation or the request from the county for an additional $10 million so that when we receive the FCA, that we'll be able to then keep moving with that work.
Board Member Klein?
I have a follow-up to Vice Chair Rankin. How is this study any different than what we've done in the past few years where we have a list of projects that have already been proposed? So are we doing additional on top of those that we've already identified?
So those projects that were proposed were projects that were identified either by technicians or by work orders, and they were identified by schools requesting and then also them looking at potential life cycles. But they have not gone in and actually assessed a building, tagged the actual equipment, put down the serial number, identified the life cycle for that equipment, and how much it's going to cost to replace it and what year it's anticipated to fail. So what this does is this gives us a complete overview of our school district, allows us to be able to see all of the upcoming capital financial needs, and puts everything on a life cycle. So we're able to then plan each year appropriately and have data that says these are our primary assets that we have to address, like our roofs and our HVACs. These are our secondary assets that we need to replace. And then these are the projects that with the remaining funds we would be able to work through and fund.
Thank you so much for this report. Dr. Hill, I turn to you for your superintendent's report.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Everyone that presented this evening did a fantastic job. My report tonight will, of course, include examples of excellence displayed in each of our 4 pillars. For academic, March is Youth Art Month. In Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, we know art is more than colors on a canvas. It's a way for young people to express themselves and explore the world. So this month, we're celebrating all of the arts, visual arts, performing arts, dance, theater, and music, highlighting our talented students and amazing teachers. Be sure to check out the features on our district website and social media sites. Independence High School recently held its second biannual construction trade signing day. 3 of its mid-year graduates accepted full-time positions with McKee Brothers Masonry. Independence has built partnerships with Charlotte area construction companies that represent a variety of trades. These partnerships allow students to take advantage of the many career opportunities available to them in the construction industry. We congratulate these new graduates and wish them well in their new careers, and we say thank you to McGee Brothers Masonry. For People Excellence, we'd like to say congratulations to Mally Burton, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools 24-25 Social Worker of the Year. Ms. Burton is a school social worker at South Pine Academy, Palisades Park Elementary, and Harper Middle College High School. She was surprised with the big news last week during National School Social Worker Week. Congratulations, Ms. Burton, and thank you for your service to our students and families. Garinger High School culinary student Axel Morales recently won first place in the North Carolina Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America competition. FCCLA is a national career and technical student organization for students enrolled in family and consumer sciences education. Axel now advances to compete at the National Convention in July. Congratulations, Axel. We are very proud of you. Operational excellence. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools has developed a new communications protocol for safety incidents. The new protocol outlines expectations to inform families and staff based on the level and scope of a threat. We remain committed to providing high-level proactive messaging that takes privacy and security into account. Our district safety protocols and procedures are unchanged. Keeping our students and staff safe is the core of our work we do each day, and we are committed to ensuring that our communications with parents and families are consistent, clear, and timely so you can continue to feel confident about your child's safety at school. For engagement, we'd like to say a very special thank you to everyone who attended our first 2 budget engagement sessions last week. There are 2 more opportunities for you to learn about our budget and process. Mark your calendars now for April 2nd. There will be a virtual session at 1 p.m. and an in-person session at 6 p.m. at J.M. Alexander Middle School. Visit our district website to learn more. Thank you so much, and this concludes my report.
All right, we have no action items this evening, so board members, you're standing in your own way of going home. Are there any board reports? Dr. Witherspoon.
Sure, thank you. Tonight, I honor the life and legacy of Bishop George Edward Battle, Jr., who passed away Sunday, March 9th, 2025. Bishop Battle served on the Board of Education for 17 years, including 4 years as board chair. His years of service were both critical and transformative for our district. As a faith leader and advocate for education, Bishop Battle founded the Greater Enrichment Program in 1975, which has provided quality after-school enrichment for thousands of students, and continues to operate in multiple locations, including 5 CMS sites. On a personal note, Bishop Battle came into my life when I was 12 years old and took me under his wing. Bishop Battle either gave me or positioned me for almost every opportunity in my life. As a 9th grader, ready to drop out of school, he helped me navigate the system and connected me to essential services. As a student at Livingstone College, he made sure I received thousands of dollars in financial support so that I continue my educational journey. My wife and I officiated our wedding, and as a pastor, he pointed me to 3 of the 4 churches of which I've pastored, including the current one. When I was considering a run for school board, Bishop Battle was the first person I discussed it with, other than my wife and mother. I showed up unannounced, as I always did, in his office, and his words to me were, If you want to make a difference, the school board is a place to do it. And then he added, you have to make sure that all children get a good education. And he paused for a moment and then emphasized all children. The undiscerning and uncommitted soul can get lost in politics. There's so much competing for one's attention, allegiance, loyalty, and alignment. His words will forever guide my passion and temper my ambitions, constantly reminding me of why I'm here, to ensure that all students have a quality education. And so I close with these final words that I turn to in grief. May the words I've done speak for me. May the words I've done speak for me. When I'm resting in my grave and there's nothing more to be said, may the works I've done speak for me. Bishop George Edward Battle, rest in peace. Your legacy lives on.
Board Member Byers-Bailey. Thank you. I would like to highlight one of the unsung heroes in CMS's partnerships. E2D has distributed over 56,000 refurbished laptops, with the majority remaining here in Mecklenburg County. Of those, most have gone directly into the hands of CMS families, ensuring that these families in every corner of our district can participate in everyday life without being left behind due to a lack of access of technology. As they proudly enter their 12th year of partnership with CMS, one of the most inspiring aspects of E2D's work is their commitment to physically delivering computers to families in every CMS school. This is not just about large-scale donations of symbolic gestures, proving their unwavering commitment to making a real, tangible change at the community level. E2D also has hired and trained over 200 CMS students to become technologists, equipping them with hands-on experience, real-world skills, and pathways to careers in the technology sector. These students gain not only jobs, but mentorship, training, exposure to an industry that is shaping the future. I first learned about E2D about 10 years ago, and when I ran across, I was touring West Charlotte's backyard, basically, and I ran across a lonely-looking small trailer. I was warmly received, and it was introduced to their idea of refurbishing local corporate discarded laptops and selling them to families for practically pennies, using students to do the refurbishing. When my grandson, whose goal in life was gaming, enrolled at West Charlotte, I introduced him to E2D. He immediately took to the work and quickly became an expert at restoring machines that others thought weren't worth fixing. He and one of his co-workers turned that skill into a side hustle out of his bedroom. Last fall, E2D took another bold step in their mission to support CMS students by launching a special initiative to support those pursuing higher education. Through this effort, they provided 700 free computers valued at $350,000 to CMS graduates attending historically black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs. Just thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board Member Klein.
Thank you. March is Women's History Month. Historically, women face significant obstacles in accessing education and were often excluded from formal schooling, particularly at the highest levels until the 19th and 20th century. I want to thank women who preceded us, like Mary Wollstonecraft, Maria Montessori, Mary McLeod Bethune, Patsy Mintz, and Helen Keller, who have had a profound impact on education. In the 20th century, the suffrage movement gained women the right to vote with the 19th Amendment. Title IX ensured women's equality in educational opportunities. Today, women make up the majority of bachelor degree holders. In Charlotte, we are led by strong role models such as Vi Lyles, Lee Altman, Stephanie Sneed, and Crystal Hill. I'd like for you to look around the room right now. Tonight, we have strong women who continue to support the future of education and women. Thank you.
Vice Chair Rankin.
I'll be brief. Boardman McClellan, you kind of stole my thunder, but it's okay. First, I want to say happy Women's History Month to all the deserving women in all of my colleagues first, and everyone that's in the district. That you do a phenomenal job. The district wouldn't be where we are without you guys. I just want to just acknowledge you and thank you for all your hard work. I wouldn't be where I am without just a series, a lot of just phenomenal women have poured into me. So thank you for all that you do. And secondly and lastly, I had the opportunity to go to a family and community engagement event today over at Southside Homes. I just wanted to give kudos to that team and that department for doing all the hard work that they're doing. Great work. And I think there's some virtual options coming up here pretty soon. So parents, if you have an opportunity, please log on and learn how you can provide services or identify services or need any additional services, how you can just help your kid. The Family and Community Engagement Department is doing a great job. So if you can, go on our site and look up those opportunities to engage in some of those workshops. Thank you.
All right, student advisors.
I'll make it really quick. I just wanted to first of all thank all of you guys for being here and staying here through the 4-hour meeting. But I just have 2 issues to bring up. The first thing is the transparency between administration, teachers, and students. Too often, big decisions like policy changes, grading adjustments, or new rules are made without students really understanding why. This creates confusion and frustration, not just for us, but for our teachers too. I know personally, I had a few students come up to me not knowing that the new attendance policy was in place. So, just a little example. And then finally, equality in AP classes across the district. Not all students have the same opportunities when it comes to advanced classwork. Some schools offer a wide range of AP classes with extra support, while others have fewer options because of staffing or funding differences. Also making sure that the AP classes are the same rigorous that others are at different schools. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, student advisor Silverstein. I was so busy concentrating on the last. I did it last week. Okay. Well, I was so busy concentrating on the last part of your name, I missed the other part. I think so. My apologies for that. Board membership.
Yes, I had the opportunity on Sunday, actually at church, to hear from one of our classified employee staff that was so thankful for what we've been able to do with salaries. He said it came at a wonderful time. It was almost a testimony he was making in church about how important it was that he had felt recognized, he had felt valued, and his work to our students was being acknowledged. He said out about the school board, thanked the school board, thanked CMS, the superintendent, the staff, and also the county for this acknowledgement and the funding. And he said, and also thank you for the retroactive pay that really made a difference for him at this time. So I just definitely wanted to share that we do make sure we make a difference and our employees know it. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we got everything. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.